Hey, would you do me a favor? Grab your phone or smart device and open up that camera. Then point it right here at the QR code. Do you have it? I'll wait a second. When you see the link pop up on your screen, give it a tap. You ready? Boom! Welcome to the Hillsborough County official YouTube channel. We've got all sorts of videos here, all about what makes our community such an awesome place. From local events and community highlights to what's in the perfect Cuban sandwich. We've got it all. We're always adding new things, so while you're here, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you'll never miss a new video. Here's that QR code again, just in case you missed it. Go ahead and check it out. Ooh. This must have fallen out of that video. This really is the perfect Cuban sandwich.
Good morning and welcome to Hillsborough County Planning Organization, a meeting. Let us stand and pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Just a few housekeeping orders before we get started. After you speak, I'm going to ask if you would please turn your mic off. And school board member Jessica Bond will join us around about 10 o'clock, between 9:30 and 10. Okay. So we can go ahead to public comments at this time. We have anyone for public comments? Rick Fernandez? Yes. Rick,
Thank
could you hear me?
I
Good morning.
can. Can you? Good morning, and good morning, board. As you all know, I suspect, or most, I'm the CAC chair, your CAC chair. The CAC chair's report, however, will not be presented at the meeting today verbally because of time constraints. It's part of your agenda package. I do not intend to use my moments in public comment to summarize our CAC actions of last week, other than to point out that we did conduct a straw poll to capture the committee's preference among the 3 TPO executive director candidate finalists. Candidate Dr. Johnny Wong emerged as the #1 candidate among the candidate pool you will be considering this morning. And I wanted to make sure that did not get lost in your paper shuffle. Speaking for myself, I do believe that that recommendation should carry great weight. And why? Well, the unique and valuable role of the CAC is captured in your own consent agenda backup materials for agenda item 5 alpha. That's the committee appointments. And I quote, "The Citizens Advisory Committee shall be responsible for providing information and overall community values and needs into the transportation planning program of the TPO, evaluating and proposing solutions from a citizen's perspective concerning alternative transportation proposals and critical issues, and providing knowledge gained through the CAC into local citizen group discussions and meetings, and establishing comprehension and promoting credibility for the TPO program," close quote. I would further underscoring the uniqueness of the CAC, please note that the MPO statute requires the appointment of only 2 advisory committees, the TAC and the CAC. After over 6 years of service on the CAC, I readily own my bias. We are not just another advisory committee. We do play a valuable role in the TPO ecosystem, one that I fear is not always appreciated by this board. In the aggregate, you have appointed the majority of our CAC membership. Even the at-large members must be approved by you. The CAC is your direct line to the community, and Dr. Wong has been our staff liaison for over a year. We know him well. I have come to know Johnny well over a period of over 5 years, and while we have sometimes disagreed on matters of procedure and policy, he knows his business, is excellent in his public-facing roles, and has earned my trust. In my opinion, he has earned this career advancement. The TPO and the community at large will benefit greatly from his leadership. Thank you for considering my comments. I appreciate it. Whatever time I have left, I cede back.
Thank you so much. At this time, we're going to have our roll call. Gail?
Commissioner Myers?
Here.
Mayor Ross?
Here.
Commissioner Owen?
Here.
Commissioner Wastel?
Here.
Commissioner Cohen?
Here.
Commissioner Kemp? Councilmember Clendenin?
Here.
Councilmember Hertog? Here. Councilmember Maniscalco?
Here.
Mayor Kilton?
Here.
Board Member Vaughn? She's going to be delayed. Charles Klug?
Here.
Gina Du?
Here.
Greg Slater?
Here.
Scott Drainville?
Here.
Planning Commissioner Soraya? We do have an in-person quorum.
Thank you. At this time, we'll have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Have a motion by Councilman Maniscalco, second by Commissioner Cohen. All in favor of the vote say yes. Any opposes?
Aye.
Yes.
Madam Chair, can I just propose one change to the consent agenda? We had nominated Tim Garrett to serve on the ITS committee. He's in a different role now, so could I remove that from the consent agenda, that nomination?
Is that the pleasure of the board?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Owens, second by Councilman Maniscalco.
Thank you.
Okay. We're going to remove that. Any other comments? Okay, so we have a motion first to accept the minutes, and then we have the second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposes? Okay, that motion is carried. Thank you so much. And we'll move right into our action items. Roger Matthews, is he here? Roger? Okay, Beth, can we move to you? I don't see Roger.
Sure, we can move to my item.
Okay.
So, good morning. Beth Alden, your director, and I will cover your second action item while we make sure Mr. Matthey gets here to present our TIP amendment, and I apologize about the delay. We have a meeting of the Tri-County Tampa Bay Transportation Management Area Leadership Group on September 22nd. And at that time, that group will be discussing the Memorandum of Understanding to investigate merging our 3 MPOs. Last May, this board approved circulating that draft MOU to our local governments for the purpose of getting input so that we could then bring feedback to the Tri-County group. So we did do a public opinion survey. There were over 1,700 responses on that. We'll be presenting that to the Tri-County group in September. I, in particular, want to highlight for you some of the feedback that I received when bringing the draft MOU to our 4 local governments. So some of the concerns that I heard were concern about public engagement and citizen access to MPO decision-making, if we have a tri-county MPO. Concern about smaller cities continuing to have a vote. Concern about inadequate funding for public transit and existing roads lacking basic safety features right now. How do we address those things? Concern about non-elected officials in voting seats on the governing board. Concern about the location of the MPO's office. And we also had a formal request from the city of Tampa through a motion that the largest city in each county should be able to weigh in before each MPO approves regionalization. So I've prepared in your agenda packet a draft of some edits to the MOU that we could bring back to the Tri-County group in September. And so I'm looking for your approval to bring those edits to the Tri-County group. The edits are in your agenda packet in an underlined strike-through format. The substantive ones, we have proposed to strike the clause about the Florida DOT committing funds to support the MPOs financially after a merger, because this is no longer necessary, because the statewide organization of the MPOs agreed to allow us to keep our 3 base funding amounts, at least for the next 10 years, until that formula is revisited after the next census. So that clause is no longer needed, but some additional language to the MOU. First, about the regional MPO continuing to serve local needs. So we did state previously that the regional MPO would still need to provide planning support to our local governments, but this more clearly states now that mechanisms will be created for the regional MPO to achieve a balance of regionally and locally significant projects in the priority list. So these would be projects like for design and construction, and finding that balance in the regional priority list, such as identifying dedicated funds to expand transit, which is something I heard about quite a bit, and reduce crash severity with complete streets. The next edit, in the clause it talks about the regional MPO must reflect proportional representation on the governing board based on population of the local governments. I'm proposing to add, as some cities and towns will be too small to have their own seats on the new governing board, a mechanism will be created to include them in the voting and decision-making process for the new MPO. The City of Tampa's motion is addressed in the clause about outreach to all local governments in the metropolitan planning area is an important step, and therefore the individual MPOs will develop a coordinated presentation and engagement strategy. That is something, of course, that we were doing over the summer. So the new language states, in addition and consistent with federal regulations concerning MPO designation, the largest incorporated city within each existing MPO in the Tampa-St. Pete urbanized area will be provided the opportunity to take formal action on the recommended approach to a regional MPO prior to the respective MPO moving forward with regionalization. And then I'm proposing an entirely new clause talking about public engagement and citizen access to the new governing board. And that would say, outreach to and engagement with the general public is an essential and mandated part of the MPO planning process to ensure that citizens across the 2,700 plus square mile Tri-County area will continue to have access to their MPO governing board. The new regional MPO will develop a proactive public participation process that makes use of board member meetings in the community, virtual meeting technology, as well as email and social media channels to expand opportunities for citizens to provide public comments directly to the governing board. And so that reflects some of our current practice here in Hillsborough, not necessarily the practice that's current in Pinellas and Pasco. So kind of taking a stance for maintaining our current practices for citizen engagement with the governing board. And so I am seeking your approval for us to bring these edits to the Tri-County group and formally request that they be included in the MOU before it's approved by that group and forwarded back to each of the MPOs for final approval next month. Questions?
Commissioner Coyne?
I just want to ask a question, Beth. Let's assume for a moment that all three counties agree to this memorandum. What's actually going to happen after that?
So, right. What happens after that is basically a study.
Who does that?
It's the responsibility of the three MPOs. One of the things that I'm proposing to also talk about on the 22nd is when we provide this initial report to the legislature, that we ask the legislature for some financial assistance to engage like an organizational consultant to help with preparing organizational documents and facilitate the decision-making process. I'm thinking that you probably want an independent facilitator who's not a staff person of any one of the three MPOs to help you all as a group and your counterparts in Pinellas and Pasco make decisions.
So it'll essentially create, each of the MPOs is going to be responsible for working together with the others to do this analysis, essentially?
Yes.
And we're just sort of all left to our own devices in terms of how to do that?
So your staff, we and Pinellas and Pasco staff have laid out a timeline of decisions to focus on during the next 3 years.
So you've envisioned it would start a 3-year process?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Mayor Ross?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a couple of comments on this. First of all, I think that it would behoove us as a group to lean into this a little more proactively than maybe we are. If we don't, other people are going to create this model for us. And if we wait until we get everything perfectly the way we like it and all the language is ideal and everything we can live with, it will already be done if we don't engage in this discussion. So although there are parts of this MOU, parts of these revisions that I really don't like, particularly, no offense to present company, I don't like the Tampa part. The vast majority of people that live in this county live in unincorporated county. This board is already apportioned and Tampa's looking for another bite at the apple. I don't think that's necessary. But again, if we wait until we get everything exactly perfect before we move on this, we're going to lose out. Pinellas is going to drive the bus, and we're going to take whatever's left. And this is going to be, this is coming, folks, whether we want it or not. The legislature is going to do this, whether we like it or not. So we might just get used to the idea of liking it. And in fact, I think it's up to you as a board. I think we should assign a committee, whether that's the policy committee or whether it's an ad hoc committee or whoever, to kind of dig into this and start and work with our counterparts in the other counties to say, hey, you know, we're not going to live with that, but we'll live with this, and to come back to this body and make some recommendations about how this could look. Right now, I think we're being very passive, and I'm afraid we're going to miss an opportunity here to be an architect of this if we don't lean into this. So I would encourage us to do that. If we wait until the perfect thing comes around, it'll be done for us and we won't get a chance. And so that's just my 2 cents. Notwithstanding my objections to the Tampa language, which I think is, I mean, I don't know why Tampa would get some elevated opportunity here, and I don't understand even what the opportunity to take formal action is. And even Temple Terrace, as small as we are, can take formal action. Nobody will care, but we could. So notwithstanding all that, I would move approval of the revised MOU.
Okay. Before I recognize them, Gail, Commissioner Kemp has joined the meeting. Okay. Councilman Clint Denton.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair. Mayor, in all respect, I think part of the thing is operating at a fear of what could come can get in the way of good. And while I am still not convinced that this is the correct policy, for not just the city of Tampa, but for all of Hillsborough County, which I represent when I sit on the board. Because, rarely in my mind does more bureaucracy and larger government really fulfill anybody's goals or ambitions of where we go, So I feel like we're creating, something that maybe become, not manageable or provide lesser good for the citizens that we all represent in whatever capacity we do. I also don't feel, and in defense of the city of Tampa, I do believe, as we see in so many of other models that as we go around, just not only the metropolitan area, but around the state, that when we try to do too much with too little, we're all struggling with tremendous growth and diminishing resources. And you try to do too much with too little, you do nothing well. And that's one of the things I would advocate for some of the larger, denser, more populated areas, is that if you start doing well with the proven models in smaller areas, and then you can grow and build out from that as a network, I think that's a proven success story over and over and over again. When you try to expand out and try to service too many areas, again, if we had unlimited resources and we had our own printing press, we could do a lot of great good for not just Hillsborough County, but for all the counties that are involved in this. But we don't. It's very limited resources. I think that we should continue to focus on what we can control, not operate and not vote out of fear of what could come, because that's still, it's not a foregone conclusion. One thing I know about politics is they shift in the breeze. Things come and they go, and whatever the hot topic of the day or who's running for president, you never know what and who's not going to run. So that's my point. And right now, I feel kind of conflicted because I don't necessarily want to stop, doing the due diligence on this. Although still at this point, if we were at a decision-making point, I would be voting no against this consolidation. But I also feel like there is some due diligence to be, had about, studying and look. So, I'm not digging my heels on moving forward on the studies, but I just wanted people to know that ultimately I'm not there yet about supporting that. And like I said, if this was the call for calling the question today, mine would be no. But I'm still willing to entertain the idea of pursuing this study.
Commissioner
I
Owen.
think Beth had something she wanted to say. Do you?
Just very briefly, as a point of information, under the federal regulations, the City of Tampa's approval will be required to designate a new MPO serving this area. Really the only gray area is whether the largest city in Pinellas and the largest city in Pasco would also have to approve. So the language in the MPO basically just extends that to Pinellas and Pasco's two largest cities. Also, we will be bringing back the hopefully revised MOU for your approval next month. So this will be a discussion topic again next month. And right now, I'm just seeking your support for bringing forward these edits for Pinellas and Pasco's consideration.
And I think, Beth, you just answered my question. I was going to ask to allude a little bit more to the concerns that Mayor Ross has, because I have those as well, but that is pursuant to federal statute. So you're just basically stating what is the obvious pursuant to statute. Because I was going to move to strike that portion, but that doesn't necessarily do us any good, right? It's federal law. Okay. Yeah, and I do like hearing my friends from the other side of the aisle say we don't want to create more government. I mean, that's a philosophy I have as well. But what I will say is about this becoming regional is that the reason I think it's important is I just think we'll have the opportunity to get more. That's what this is about for me, is what can we get if we become number one? Does that mean that we have more opportunities for grants and that kind of stuff? Well, if that's the case, then I'm all in. So those are my comments. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Kemp?
Yeah, and I'm glad you clarified that. I know that is a fact of the matter, and actually it was, I think, good of the city of Tampa to recognize that there are other major areas in the other counties. And so if you're talking about us not recognizing the largest city, 400,000 people, in Hillsborough County, but having, not having that recognition of the bigger picture or some kind of issues with it, but for our city council having recognition of the bigger, greater picture, which is including and wanting to hear from the other cities in the regional area. I think it's a good thing, and I applaud that was done and recognized, and is a good thing and a required thing, at least as far as the city of Tampa goes, and is that's important. So anyway, are we looking to move approval for this at this time, the edits at this time? Okay, and so nobody's done that, right? So, oh, I'm sorry, okay, I'm sorry, I was trying to, okay, I'll do a second then.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Wannstedt?
Could we elaborate? So if the federal statute said that the city of Tampa has to certify, is that what we're adding in there?
It says, so the Code of Federal Regulations states that when an MPO is designated for a metropolitan area, the designation is through agreement between the governor, units of government representing 75% of the population, which would be hard to get to without Hillsborough County, honestly, and the largest central city.
So, I understand that a lot of, is it just a flat calculation? So if we all vote to do this, is the suggestion that even if we voted to do this, that the city of Tampa could choose to not certify, and then what happens if they choose to not certify? Does it?
So you're not making a decision with this MOU to merge.
Right.
You're making a decision with this MOU to move forward with a study and
Right.
come up with some concepts for a merger.
Right.
The merger proposal, once it's developed and fleshed out, would come back to each MPO for approval. And that will take place over the next 2 to 3 years. The culmination of that would be potentially designating a new MPO to serve the entire Tri-County area.
Mm-hmm.
That decision, City of Tampa is going to have to be a party to.
Well, I understand they have to be a party to, but if they choose not to, then it just, and the state and everybody else is saying yes, then what happens? Do they go
Then
onto an
we stay-
island by
then
themselves?
Then
or?
the existing designation of MPOs stays in place. The existing designation remains until there is a change.
Oh, that should be fun. All right, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Coyne?
You know, Commissioner Wastel, I'm not even sure if it's the mayor or the city council who would make the decision. I'm not even sure that there's clarity on how that would even work. I want to just say I agree very much with what Mayor Ross said about overall the importance of engaging in this process. Regardless of where it ends up, we have to engage. And I want to just say, we do need to designate representatives of this board to engage with our counterparts, but we also need to give those people direction as to what our concerns are and the way in which we want our position to be articulated. Because if we don't do that, if we're not clear with our representatives, they're just going to go in there and be left to navigate with other counties that may have a very coherent strategy with how to proceed. So I think it's going to require some work from this board to get ready to engage. It's not enough just to pass this. We have to then talk about what is important to us in these discussions. And those are not necessarily going to be easy conversations, because there clearly are major divides, particularly urban-rural, that come up in this room. They come up all the time at the county commission. And we are going to be sending a group that's going to have to reflect those different concerns, because the larger pool, you know, Pinellas and Pasco have their own set of concerns, so.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, Mayor Ross.
Real quick, because I already spoke once, but I just want to clarify. First of all, Beth, thank you for pointing out that this is a federal requirement anyway, so I didn't realize that. So, and as soon as you said it, I said, you know, I have heard that before, so thank you for reminding me. But to Commissioner Wastel's point too, if this thing shakes down the funnel and comes up with a final product, regardless of what the federal law says and regardless of what the MOU says, if this thing turns into something that the city of Tampa can't support, it's not a good, I mean, something's wrong anyway. So I wouldn't even propose, if it ever got to that point, that this board embark on a new form of MPO that the entire city of Tampa is opposed to. I think it's doomed for failure if we were to do that anyway. So the federal law requires it, but I think reality kind of requires it also. I mean, Tampa's got to have ownership of this as well. So thanks for the clarification. We're not there yet. I still think we need to kind of dig into this a little bit during the process, and we get to the final product, and you know what, after all the exploration and all the study and everything, we say, you know what, this isn't a good deal for Tampa, it's not a good deal for Hillsborough, it's not a good deal for Plant City. Then we say, oh, you know, we leaned into it, but we don't like it. But we can't get to that point if we don't lean in.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, so we have a motion by Mayor Ross, second by Commissioner Kemp. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Any opposes? Got one. Did you get that, Gail? One. Okay, thank you. At this time, we'll move right, Roger Mahey.
So I believe we have Connor McDonald, who has joined us to present that item. Is that correct? Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Connor.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Connor McDonald, TPO staff. I think Cheryl's pulling up the slides. Okay, perfect. I'm here to present the TIP Rural Forward Amendment and Waterworks Park Sidewalk Gap Amendments. Next slide, please. So this is a TIP and work program timeline, so you have an idea. In July of every year, FDOT begins developing the 5-year work program. In April, we received the tentative work program as a snapshot to create a list of funded projects in the TIP, in the TIP that you see in June. In June and July, the FDOT 5-year work program and the TPO TIP are adopted. And then in October 1st, the TIP becomes effective. And it's important to note that funding, when allocated, must be spent in the current fiscal year. It cannot be banked later by an agency. Next slide, please. So what's a Roll Forward Amendment? When a project is scheduled for completion by June of 2023, meaning the fiscal year, it's not included in the next year's work program. It's then placed in the list of funded projects in the TIP, and due to project rescheduling, its funds are not authorized or committed in fiscal year 23, and then must be placed back in the TIP. Funding must be placed back in the TIP, and funding increases or decreases are limited to minor fluctuations. Next slide, please. So the Roll Forward Amendment is one amendment requested by the Florida Department of Transportation to roll forward 3 projects into fiscal year 24. The first being Kennedy Boulevard resurfacing from South Woodland Avenue to Brevard Avenue. There's a net decrease of 16%, so it came in a little under budget, a little 16% under budget. And then there's also the I-4 eastbound way station, which you've heard as a TIP amendment before, and the I-4 westbound way station truck parking, which are just rolling into the next fiscal year and no net change there. Next slide, please. So this is an example of the Kennedy Boulevard resurfacing, a new median in the center, widened sidewalks on the ends, and lower lane widths as well. And this is just an idea, so you have an idea of the project, but this has already been approved in the TIP, so we're asking you to roll forward those funds. Next slide, please. Here you can see that change, the net change of under $2 million, and roll that money rolling forward to the next fiscal year, into fiscal year '24. Next slide, please. The I-4 way stations truck parking is to increase parking capacity by paving the shoulders. The additional parking is needed due to parked trucks impacting way station operations. So that you can see in the red the proposed parking additions. Next slide, please. On the I-4 eastbound way station truck parking, you can see that it's moving forward into the next fiscal year. Next slide, please. And the westbound way station, again, moving forward into fiscal year '24. Next slide, please. So the final amendment is the Waterworks Park sidewalk gaps. It will enhance multimodal connectivity by eliminating key sidewalk gaps within the Tampa Heights district. It prioritizes a direct sidewalk connection from Tampa Street to Doyle Carlton Drive, and construction is anticipated in late 2024. Next slide, please. So the Waterworks Park sidewalk gaps are coming in around $700,000 for preliminary engineering. Next slide, please. We did conduct public outreach 21 days prior to today on the TBO board meeting. Notification of project delay into the new year was released through press release, social media, and a web page posted, as well as a sign near Waterworks Park. Next slide, please. So today, the recommended action is to approve the roll forward and Waterworks Park sidewalk gap amendments into fiscal year '23-24 TIP. And with that, I'll take any comments or questions.
Councilman Maniscalco.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. The funding for the sidewalk gap, you said was $700,000?
Yes.
And where does that funding come from? Who pays for it?
Great question. So I believe all of the funding categories are from FDOT, but I can double check on that for you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Beth.
It's one of the new federal grant programs, the carbon reduction program.
And the reason I ask is because we have an issue with sidewalks in the city and a lack thereof. So it's good to see that funding is not coming from the city of Tampa. It's coming from another entity, but we're meeting that need. I know it's a very busy area because I drive through there all the time and I see how pedestrians cross. So I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Any other comments?
So I'd like to move the resolution.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion by Councilman Clendenton, second by Councilman Guidas Maniscalco. At this time, in favor of the motion, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Any opposes? Okay, we need to do a roll call. I'm sorry. Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Myers?
Yes.
Mayor Ross?
Yes.
Commissioner Owen?
Yes.
Commissioner Wastel?
Yes.
Commissioner Cohen?
Yes.
Commissioner Kemp?
Yes.
Councilmember Clendenin?
Yes.
Councilmember Hurtak?
Yes.
Councilmember Maniscalco?
Yes.
Mayor Kilton?
Yes.
Charles Klug? Yes. Gina Du?
Yes.
Greg Slater? Scott Drainville?
Yes.
Planning Commissioner Soraya?
Yes.
The motion passes 15-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. At this time, we're going to our final interviews. Megan?
Yes, Johnny Wong is on his way over from the holding room as we speak.
Okay. Thank you. Hey. Yeah, we're on to something. We're on to something. Yes.
Thank you, Johnny, Dr. Johnny Wong, for joining us and your participation in this selection process. Today, the interview will be 45 minutes. We do have to adhere to that. The first 25 will include my asking questions that are formal. Then, and the last part, we'll be opening it up to the board for any additional questions. We ask that you be concise in your answers. And I will give a 2-minute warning for yourself and for the board to know that we are close to our time limit.
All right, thanks. I'll do my best.
All right, thank you. So first, the TPO board is comprised of members of various organizations who often have different priorities. How would you balance these priorities and synthesize them into a unified strategy? How will you listen to the voices of all stakeholders while preventing a vocal minority from taking over?
All right, so the question I have is, the TPO board is comprised of various organizations. How would you balance different competing priorities? How will you balance them? And how will you prevent a vocal minority from taking over? Thanks for that question. So thankfully, the advantage that this TPO already has is that our planning processes codified in the TIP and the LRTP exist. Those two documents are intended to do just that, which is balance competing priorities from the board members as well as the community. My goal would be to work on developing consensus among board members, focusing on specific goals and outcomes rather than specific capital projects. Those conversations take time. I think that they involve getting down to the nitty-gritty details of what's motivating you all and your constituents, and recognizing that a lot of those conversations will have to be conducted in the sunshine is a limitation, obviously. One way that I think we could address that is by hosting an even greater number of board workshops, retreats, allocating more time on the board agenda to discuss these issues in detail, and seeking to develop consensus around the issues that are driving your priorities. I think that it would be important for us to seek to build consensus because there may be many projects or priorities that you all have that could be mutually beneficial to your organizations, but for just different reasons. As far as preventing a vocal minority from leading the conversations or taking the charge, I'm going to present a slightly different angle on that. In my experience managing the TIP and working on the LRTP, I would caution that I don't think it's wise to identify groups of citizens as vocal opponents or vocal minorities. I think writing off the concerns of any minority group and assuming that they're meritless or don't have value would be an incorrect policy decision. I think isolating individuals and writing them off as problematic or against the status quo may actually unintentionally escalate policy conflicts, and that could prevent us from achieving consensus. That could also escalate tensions in the community among neighbors, and we don't want either of those things.
Thank you. Today's employment market is extremely competitive. Please share with us the strategies you intend to use to attract and retain top talent.
All right, so I have, what strategies would I use to attract and retain top talent? I think that's very keen to recognize that the job market within the Tampa Bay region, specifically in the planning space, is pretty robust and competitive right now. While we have had challenges attracting good candidates, that's less of a concern for me. I think that there are plenty of options that we can explore to attract good candidates by posting job advertisements and on APA website and a number of different employment websites. The retention is where I would choose to focus my energy. While we see a lot of candidates who are motivated to work in the public sector just based on an intrinsic motivation, one of the things that the public sector can also offer them is a pathway for student loan forgiveness. What our agency also offers is a lot of growth opportunities, leadership development, mentorship. As the director, what I would also offer them is an opportunity to flex their muscle and demonstrate that they have acquired new skills and are willing to be tested with ambitious plans. I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought a little bit. Regarding the retention, so once on board, I think that we could expand the opportunities for career development, for leadership development and training. Yes, I'll end there.
All right, thank you. Most, but not all, of the funds that support this TPO are federal and state grants dedicated to planning. Please share with us how you intend to prioritize the funding needs of the organization while still meeting the needs of the community.
So the majority of TPO programming funds are federal and state sources. Can you repeat the question, Megan?
Yes. Please share with us how you intend to prioritize the funding needs of the organization while still meeting the needs of the community.
Similar to the first question, I think that we have a pretty good blueprint for that as well. Every year when we embark on the TIP update cycle, we meet one-on-one with the local governments and ask them what their planning priorities are for the upcoming year. We take those suggestions into consideration when we're updating the Unified Planning Work Program that May. We solicit suggestions and proposals for planning studies and projects and other initiatives, and we allocate a certain amount of our planning funds specifically to work on those issues that are of importance to the local governments. And so I don't think that that would change. If anything, we may expand that earmark that's dedicated to funding those planning studies either on behalf of or in collaboration with the local governments. Just this past year, we've expanded that effort. I personally have managed a project with Hillsborough County going back about a year to develop a crash and reliability forecasting tool. That was a joint initiative, 50-50 split between the county and the TPO. And what the result was is a tool that benefits our planning work for both organizations. We're also looking to partner right now with the city of Tampa and sign an interlocal agreement to pool funds for traffic counts. With the TPO bringing $80,000 to the table, we may have only been able to get, let's say, 300 traffic locations counted. By partnering with the city of Tampa, we're able to achieve better economies of scale, and we're not only doubling the number of locations, but getting a little bit more for our money. So I would seek to partner with the local governments wherever possible.
Thank you. Please share with us your plans for establishing diversity amongst the leadership team.
My plans for establishing diversity among the leadership team. This is an issue that's near and dear to my heart. I played a small but significant role in the development of the non-discrimination and equity plan, and as part of our staff surveys, I've always been an advocate for achieving greater diversity among all staff, not just the leadership team. But I'll kind of walk you through my thoughts on the pipeline. So I think bringing more diversity into the planning profession begins young, but the area where we have the opportunity to influence that pipeline is beginning at college. A number of TPO staff and planning commission staff sit on the advisory board for the urban and regional planning program out at USF. I would like for us to continue that work, working with USF so that they can attract more diverse candidates, ethnic, demographic, as well as a variety of ages and points of view. And then ensuring that those candidates are able to translate into working professionals. The way that I would attract more diversity among all staff, not just the leadership team, is by encouraging us to post job listings on some forums that are frequented by minorities. The Conference of Minority Transportation Officials comes to mind, COMTO, as well as HBCUs. I know that the APA has a number of different advisory boards and committees that are dedicated to working on planning issues for Latinos, Asian, all ethnicities are represented. So I think we could do a better job of that. Once the employees are on our team, another thing that I've noticed that sometimes they struggle with, and where we struggle with retention, is by providing them adequate support resources for them to mature into professionals, right? We get them when they're very junior, sometimes fresh out of college or transplants. What we need to do is be setting them up with a support network so that they have the resources they need to build a community here and build some roots here so that they're kind of grounded in their work and connected to the community. When on the team, I would say that it's very difficult to provide opportunities to translate into leaders for just those who exhibit diversity. I think that opportunities that we open up for staff to lead projects and to lead initiatives have to be open to the entire team. Everyone has to be given equal access. However, I think that if we provide the adequate support resources, you'll see that diverse candidates will shine.
Thank you. Share with us your thoughts on the proposed merger. What challenges do you anticipate and how will you address them?
At the same time, that's a difficult question. It's also easy because I answered that many, many times last night and over the past few weeks. My thoughts on the proposed merger are probably well known to most of you. I'll share a bit of a monologue with you all right now. So some years back when a merger was first proposed, shortly after I got hired here, I was not on board whatsoever. I had reservations about what that meant for the agency, for the people of Hillsborough County, as well as for myself personally and professionally. I've since come around a little bit. I have concerns about the language of the proposed merger or the MOU, but I don't have any concerns that I feel can't be addressed with proper planning. Some of my top concerns are setting the expectations of the public. The way that this has been conveyed and communicated in the media is that we will come together and form a juggernaut of an MPO. The expectation there from the public and from you all is that we'll be able to deliver a massive amount of federal funds to deliver these projects. And while I don't think that that's impossible, I recognize that a lot of work needs to go on behind the scenes to deliver on that expectation. One way that I think a merged MPO could address that is by hiring more staff focusing on grants coordination. Within the TPO, we've had a lot of success recently delivering the EPA grant. We're working with Hillsborough County right now to explore some different grant opportunities that are coming up, SMART grant, Attain. I would like to see a lot more of that with a merged MPO. And lending some of our staff expertise to DOT, which will then work on our behalf to go deliver funds from DC and Tallahassee. Another concern that I have is a concern that's been shared by a number of members of our board, and what I hear from the community is that the small cities' voices will be overwhelmed by a large board, a large regional board. To that, I can offer a couple solutions that have already been explored with this board and with the SCTPA, Suncoast Transportation Planning Alliance, which is to have maybe a subcommittee of small cities, maybe one rep, one delegate representing all the small cities from each county, or maybe one subcommittee comprised of small cities from all 3 counties. I think that may be a positive or maybe a step in the right direction. I'm not entirely sold on that because I think Pasco County may have some concerns. I'm concerned for the staff as well. Some of my concerns have been addressed with conversations about the merger with our local governments recently. I've heard that there are talks of allocating some staff to work on specific issues within Hillsborough County and the 3 local governments or the 3 small cities. Some staff would be allocated to working on issues that are of regional importance. And yeah, I'll end there.
Thank you. How well do you know the mission and vision of the TPO? Give an example of a project you will consider that meets the mission and vision of the TPO.
How well do I know the mission and vision of the TPO? Do you have it in front of you? I did play a role in crafting the staff mission and vision, so I know it pretty well. If you're testing me on my accuracy, I'll say that I know the vision is to have a well-connected, prosperous, and equitable Hillsborough County. And the vision to achieve that, what staff can do is to come up with innovative, creative solutions, doing the requisite data analysis, and working with the boards to inform your decisions so that you can do what's in the best interest of Hillsborough County. So I hope that I got pretty close to that. And 2 examples of projects that I either have or will work on that I think fulfill or meet the intention of that vision and mission. I'll give 2. I already touched on one with Hillsborough County. Some of you may remember during the TIP hearing that Lithia Pinecrest has been experiencing massive gridlock, a ton of congestion and the proposed solution to that is a widening of that corridor. That would be a very expensive project. The cost estimates that I've seen recently are in excess of $200 million. It may be more by the time that that project's delivered. I wouldn't say that that's a wise investment of our funds at this particular time. So to that, we have taken on an innovative perspective and attempted to adopt some interim improvements. So we're working right now with Hillsborough County. Thea lent some staff expertise to us to brainstorm ITS, intelligent transportation systems, and management operations treatments that might alleviate that congestion without the need for an expensive widening project. So I think we're meeting the mandate of, or meeting the aspect of our mission to do the data analysis, working with these agencies to pull all the information that you would need to make a decision, as well as being innovative, thinking outside the box beyond just the widening. If that project is delivered, I think it'll result in prosperity because the folks who are living south of or along the Lithia Pinecrest corridor will be better able to access the Selman, access job centers downtown, West Shore, connect north up to USF. Another project that I'd like to talk about is one that has only been discussed very superficially on this board. We haven't had a ton of time to dig into the details, but I'm very excited about the streetcar extension. That was another project that was recently added to our TIP priority list just this past year. If I'm recalling correctly, the streetcar modernization and extension project was accepted into FTA's either New Starts or Small Starts program. The issue that we're running into is that a local match is needed. I'd be willing to work with TPO board members and members of the community to see if we can secure a financial package to deliver the local funds that would be needed to match FTA's contribution.
Thank you. At this time, we will be opening it up to questions for the board.
Councilman, your hand up?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Councilman Scacco.
A lot of questions were answered by the moderator. So I've been here 8 years, and coming onto the board, we had a very controversial topic, which was TBX. It's been renamed and it's changed, but obviously a lot of pressure, a lot of public comment that went well into the night, not just that 1 year, but the year after. How well do you work under pressure? Meaning, how do you balance being would be acting as director and then having to work with the public, considering the amount of public comment, the amount of public response that we had?
My thoughts on my ability to work under pressure are my own. You members of the board will be the ultimate judge of that, as well as whoever is supervising me at the end of today. I think that I work very well under pressure. I have always shown ambition to go above and beyond what I think is necessary to do the job. I like to not only meet the needs and demands of the board and the community, but excel whenever possible and give them more than what they asked for. And when there's a demonstrable need and when there's a timetable, I tend to think that I thrive in those types of situations. I hope that's a reflection of how I'm doing today, but yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Watson.
You've earned the respect of the CAC, so we know that you can work with the general public. We just heard that earlier. You're the only internal candidate, which, in my opinion, would kind of de facto make you the front runner. So what's the one improvement that you believe that our current TPO structure is missing that you have experienced and would implement?
Thank you for that question, and I appreciate that comment. While I think that the TPO is functioning pretty well overall right now, and I have evidence of that because I lead the FDOT and federal highway certification processes every year and 4 years respectively, and in that time, I think we've only gotten 2 recommendations for improvement, never had any corrective actions. We've only had suggestions to improve the things that we're already doing quite well. In my personal experience here, I think that we could make some strides and advances in public engagement. The ways that we seek to solicit feedback from the public may be a little bit outdated. We haven't made a ton of use of new technologies and new social media We've done, I don't want to say a poor job because we're limited by our staff size and resources available, but there are a number of different social media sites that younger people are using. I think that that's an untapped market that I would like to receive feedback from. At the same time, I've proposed maybe exploring a podcast in which we can talk a little bit more informally about projects and their impacts in a language that your average person can understand. Most of the time when we attend committee meetings or go out to public meetings, board meetings, we're speaking in plainer jargon. Even though we try to simplify it, I think we're still limited by the vocabulary that we have. And a podcast may be an opportunity to convey our message to a segment of the population that would never attend a committee or a board meeting. So that's one. Second is an initiative that my team has been working on for about 7 years, which is to make our planning work a little bit more sophisticated. When I first came on, we had very limited access to data, even things like volume and speed, things that are necessary for any corridor planning study. They were difficult to access, and we made a lot of advances working with the DOT to get a regional data platform built. We're now in a beta version. We're about to wrap that up, but I think that we could make even greater use of that and even train some of the small cities that may not have staff time and resources to use them. I would like to work with the staff of those small cities to help them understand how these tools can improve their planning aptitude.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Coyne.
What do you see as the major differences of opinion or issues that divide Hillsborough, Pinellas, and Pasco counties from one another in terms of their transportation vision?
I see Pasco's need to attract industrial economic development. Their largest city is Zephyr Hills. I don't know exactly what the population is, but my guess would be less than 20,000. Traditionally a bedroom community, looking to attract jobs and bring some wealth opportunities to that county. Pinellas, on the other hand, approaching max build out. It's the most dense county in all of Florida. I think what they're looking to achieve is more residential development. Hillsborough is kind of a mix of the two, right? We have our job centers, but we're also in need of more employment opportunities. The 2050 projections are showing that we're going to have a lot more employment a lot more population than jobs within this county. At the same time, we need to facilitate more affordable housing, residential development for the transplants who are coming to us from the Midwest and up north over that 25-year period. So I think that those are the major differences as far as pertaining to transportation. Pinellas County is exploring more transit because they have the necessary density to facilitate use of a system like that. Pasco County, their tip, to my understanding, is filled up with projects that are mostly capacity additions, widenings, extensions, things like that. Our tip is difficult to navigate because we have folks that represent both of those perspectives, folks that need the transit because their constituency is, or they're representing constituencies that are very dense. On the other hand, we have other reps that are representing rural agricultural areas, suburban areas. So I see that as the challenge in balancing our priorities as a unified board.
Okay, thank you.
Got it. Your
Councilman.
questions? Sir, go ahead.
Okay, Councilman Pendleton.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Before you were in the room in our prior discussion on business, Commissioner Cohen had brought up some of the competing interests between our rural and our urban areas. How would you navigate some of the competing interest? You know, so I know we just spoke broadly about the three counties, but even within Hillsborough County, we have some competing interests. How do you see your role in navigating that and your thoughts on it? Thank you.
I'll offer a very blanket suggestion for how we can improve. The key to me is being able to tap into the needs of the rural community much better than we have previously. The needs of folks that are living in the urban job centers are very clear. We have a massive amount of representation across all of our committees, as well as the board does a really great job of representing those constituents. For a number of reasons, it's been more difficult to access folks that are living Waimama, Sun City Center, because they're living a very great distance away from where decisions are made. And it's difficult for us to access them because we may not have a location to host a public meeting, or engage in that dialogue. They may have competing interests, but again, the response to the first question is kind of like the principle that I'm going to lay out. I would rather focus on outcomes and goals rather than specific projects. I wouldn't want to get lost in the nuance. I think identifying what's motivating those needs will allow us to better work toward facilitating consensus.
Thank you. Board Member Klug.
Sure, thank you. So could you discuss your approach to maintaining and also supporting freight corridors between, say, the seaport in Plant City and the airport and other areas where we have heavy industry, and maintaining those corridors so that they are diminished and it doesn't impede their progress? Thanks.
Significant need for the county. Revenue generator, I think we need to invest a lot to ensure the maintenance is acceptable on those freight corridors and that goods can flow in and out of those warehousing districts. At the same time, I think we need to recognize that the mode that freight is being moved is shifting slightly. Just yesterday, the Smart Cities Alliance hosted an event to discuss advanced air mobility. And so the future may not only be 16, 18-wheelers. We've got to look to emergent technologies as ways to get goods to the people that need them. It's very preliminary. Some might argue it's a little bit more advanced than we recognize, but we need to focus on those technologies as well. The freight corridors, again, critical to the health and resilience in our community. I think we can do a better job of planning to ensure that freight corridors are not exclusively used for the benefit of freight. We have to find ways to implement treatments that can allow for pedestrians and cyclists, given, assuming that the context is appropriate, but all users of the road.
Commissioner Kemp.
Thank you. I just wanted to go back for a second when you talked about engagement. I thought it was great to talk about a podcast, as being a huge fan of that medium anyway. Although when I think honestly about transportation planning and everything, I think it is a very visual thing. I even have thought really about a podcast form, but in a YouTube thing, because I think it's hard over the podcast because you'd be getting lots of numbers and areas which you wouldn't be familiar with or have, knowledge about. So I'd like to really encourage that kind of outreach and, again, visual. But the other thing that honestly I have felt, I've been really appreciative, and I think that was initiated by Ms. Alden with the Vision Zero and the education that it brought to this board about those issues, and in a data-driven way, which is what I always feel hungry for. I think the public sometimes actually feels hungry for it and really appreciates it. And I feel like we don't get as much as we could get. Things have been changing very quickly, but I would really like to understand how many people are on this road at this time, and when the issues are, and what other possibilities we might be able to do with that. It just doesn't, I understand that the heat mapping opportunities and everything are things that private corporations own now, or industry, and they charge a lot of money for us to get access to some, Google or whatever, however these things are being used. But I just like to express a lot more interest in getting data, both in terms of use. I understand people don't understand really transit at all, but I think the other huge thing that the public doesn't understand, and when I go out and talk about it, they seem incredibly appreciative, is to understand costs and basic costs. And we just don't, that somehow doesn't seem to be integrated in my mind in a way that helps people appreciate those investments and return on investments and values as compared to costs. And so I'm just throwing that out there. I know it's not a question, but I'd really like to see more of that engagement, and I really liked the thought about getting out more engagement in another way, and I didn't know if you had any comments to make about that.
I appreciate that suggestion. We have had a Citizens Planning 101 type program for a while. I think it's maybe time to update that, right? Some of the principles that are contained in that, in those educational materials may be in need of an update or maybe a translation to fit with modern day parlance. Simplifying things so that the public can understand what we're talking about is a critical hurdle for us to overcome if we're ever going to hope to get that engagement that we need.
Thank you, Commissioner Owen.
Thank you for being here today. East and South County is just exploding. I think before you know it, we're gonna have 2 million people in Hillsborough County, and I think they average about 30% of that is gonna be in South County still as well. And we have lots of unimproved roads. A lot of them are county roads from Bloomingdale to Lithia Pinecrest, you alluded to. But also we need opportunities. One initiative I brought forward is to extend the Leroy Selman all the way to South County and possibly an interchange between Manatee County. In the past, what I've seen from the TPO is there's been a priority list. All important things that discuss things like sidewalks and trails, Vision Zero, smart cities. And for some reason, major improvements to roads and infrastructure have been last. Our Board of County Commissioners sent a letter to the TPO trying to reprioritize that. But I wanted to get your take on that priority list and just get your general opinion on what you think.
Yeah, I'll share two thoughts on that. I remember when you expressed that concern to us, well, to me, prior to the TIP hearing and to the BOCC more generally. Two thoughts on that. When the local governments are applying for federal discretionary grants, Federal Highway is less concerned with the number in which those projects are ranking on the priority list than just that they're on the priority list at all. Just being on the list allows them to check the box saying, yes, this meets planning consistency. And so I do understand that, I'll say, while that is the letter of the law regarding planning consistency, I do understand that having a ranking of 88 out of a list of less than 100 projects is not convincing for the public. It's not compelling for the other local governments or agencies to lend their support behind this project or dedicate staff time to go after a grant. They may see those as less likely to deliver. One alternative that I think now's a good time to explore, because we're kind of at the beginning, middle stages of LRTP development. At the board's workshop in October, maybe we can discuss changing or modifying the priority list to accommodate major projects. One possibility is to have one priority list for major projects and a separate priority list for all others, broken down by program category. Another would be to not number the major projects and just say they're on the list, they don't have a number. But again, that's a decision that would need to be made by the board, so I welcome those conversations beginning in October.
Sure. And by us being regional, what we were discussing here today, do you think that will help us overall with these particular road projects?
I'm really not sure. Without really understanding the governance structure and what that regional priority list looks like, it's kind of tough to say. It's going to be incumbent upon the next director of this agency to advocate for those projects. And so the more information that they have about them, the better that they can understand the need, and the more compelling case they present to the public, the more likely it is that they get funding. The way that the regional priority list is structured now is new projects that are submitted automatically get added to the bottom. And it's a list of, I believe, 10 to 15 projects. So regardless of whether you're at the top of the bottom of the list, you know that you're going to move up once another project has been funded. That's maybe another option that the regional MPO could explore for its priority list.
Yeah, those are great answers, and I just think the next director has to, sounds like you are cognizant of where development is going, where everybody's moving. Tampa, is pretty full unless you're doing infill, and all the future growth is going to be East and South, not all of it, but the overwhelming majority is going to be East and South County, and those challenges are going to have to be looked at now, because every decision we make now is probably Secretary Gwynn will tell you, is probably 10 years down the road at best. So it's already too late. So thank you for being here today, and great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Megan?
We still have 10 minutes left. If there
Okay.
are any other questions, or we can move on to the next candidate.
Since we
Commissioner
have
Watson.
extra time, I would ask for, the candidate got slightly distracted at the beginning of his speech, but that was not on him. The backlights were just creating a blinding hue, and I needed those blinds changed, and I do apologize that it was so loud, but I couldn't see you and pay attention either way, so.
That's all right.
So that's on me, not the
I'm
candidate.
not sure that
Thank
my
you.
answer would have been much better if I couldn't hear it, but, you know, I did my best.
Any additional questions? Commissioner Coyne?
No, I was going to say maybe we can take a short break.
We will, right after. Councilwoman Hurtak?
Thank you. Thank you for being here today. Can you describe a time that you had to convince or sell an obstinate party on a data-driven best practice action that needed to be taken? And describe how you would pose an argument that has the appearance of being partisan even though it isn't.
Okay, I had to convince an obstinate party
Yeah,
of,
so what would you do? Like, how would you, like, you've obviously had to do this. Can you explain a time? You don't have to mention details or people, but, yeah.
if it's okay, I'll modify that question because I have an example that I can draw from, omitting the aspect of an obstinate party, omitting the part about partisanship. I hope that I'm still kind of like working toward answering your question with this example, but back in February, when we presented the proposed LRTP amendment to remove 2 lanes of 275, I felt that that was an issue that was going to divide the board. I know, based on what I heard from the community, that folks were divided on it. The community that I heard a lot of feedback from were folks that live in Tampa Heights, Seminole Heights, and the majority of the feedback that I received from them was that they do not want the lanes. The majority of folks that I heard from anywhere outside of that Tampa Heights, Seminole Heights area were not in favor of removing them. I did my best to eliminate partisanship or appealing to a certain point of view by relying on the data that we can pull from the regional demand model. I tried to explain in the best way possible that I didn't feel that that project had the benefits that we were expecting. Based on the model results that we got, we were showing that it was only going to slightly reduce traffic slightly increase congestion and traffic on 275, and the impacts would be kind of limited to that corridor. So in order to avoid the partisanship, in order to avoid the tension or conflicts that are naturally going to result of that type of conversation, or to minimize them as best as possible, I just wanted to make it a straightforward data presentation. Here are the results that we're pulling from the model, recognizing that the model's not perfect, recognizing that there are a million other ways that you could evaluate the benefits or costs of this proposed amendment. I just wanted to do what was in my power, which is present you with the model results and kind of walk you through the implications that we had brainstormed, but also leave the door open for you all to offer your opinions and your perspectives, because I know that the planning recommendation was going to be different from the decision-making calculus that each of you brought to the table.
Thank you. We have a few more minutes.
Yes, we have 6 minutes left.
Okay.
All
Turn
right.
it over to Megan.
All right, then we can break. And then next up, we will see Vinod Sandinesamy. Also, each of you should see a score sheet in front of you. So again, please make note. We do have folks ready to tabulate. Now, you don't have to hand in your sheets until after you've seen all 3 candidates. Oh, and I do have spares if you made a mistake or something.
We'll take a 5-minute break, recess. 5 minutes. And Megan, thank you.
Hello, good morning. So we have Mr. Vinod Sandesami up next. As a reminder, the interview is 45 minutes max. The first roughly half or 25 minutes will be questions that I ask, and then I will open it up to the board. We ask that you be concise in your answers. I will also give a 2-minute warning. So thank you, and let's begin.
Good morning, everyone.
Good
Thanks
morning.
for having me here.
All right, thank you. First, the TPO board is comprised of members of various organizations who often have different priorities. How would you balance these priorities and synthesize them into a unified strategy? How will you listen to the voices of all stakeholders while preventing a vocal minority from taking over?
Well, this is something which happens in every community, whether it's a TPA board or whether it's a BCC. You get folks from different communities, and they come from different backgrounds, different value systems. So it's always a challenge to bring every one of them together to come to a common consensus. So normally what we do have a lot of workshops where we try to explain to them what the data shows, and we ask them to brainstorm the sessions, give everybody's opinion. What we call as in Palm Beach, we call it as box stat, a bunch of guys and girls sitting down the table and talking, and by talking each other's mind, we can come to a consensus. We can understand where everyone is coming from and try to achieve the common ground. That's the ultimate goal. And obviously from our side, we are going to produce all the data and analysis for you to come to a decision. Of course, everyone are going to have a different decisions, but at least during these brainstorming sessions, you'll understand where the other is coming from and try to look at things from their shoes. And that way, you'll be able to kind of come to a consensus, give and take a little bit. Whatever the decision the board takes, I'll be the point man to implement it. That's how we have done in the past.
Thank you. Today's employment market is extremely competitive. Please share with us the strategies you intend to use to attract and retain top talent.
So I do understand you need to retain the best staff. For that, you need to have the staff get fully involved in it, be totally motivated with what they are doing. Just tell them what it is here, present them all with all the challenges that we have here. Of course, they'll have to be paid adequately. That's the starting point. And other than that, understanding that is there, you'll have to create the right environment for them to stay here. So as I was, people spend most part of their day here, so it has to be the good environment for them to feel comfortable and do the things that what they like. So you give them the right environment and present them with the challenges, help them when they need. It will be teamwork, one helping other, and when people come together, people feel very comfortable with each other. They'll be very happy, and and it will be good for the long term. And also, you need to also encourage them, appreciate them when they do the right things, and keep prodding them to keep moving on in the ladder of their career. So that'll be very important to keep them motivated and retain them within this organization.
Thank you. Most, but not all, of the funds that support this TPO are federal and state grants dedicated to planning. Please share with us how you intend to prioritize the funding needs of the organization while still meeting the needs of the community.
So I've worked in transportation all my life. I've worked for the MPO for long years. I've been an engineer and a planner, so I understand how you think from the planning point of view. And also I've worked in the engineering side, where I worked in design and programming and construction. So I do understand how things get done, and I do understand the federal process, how they have the different funding programs. Like now, before this, we had the FAST Act. Now we have the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, and this is a long-term act. I do understand how these are done and how the money from the feds go to the state, and how the state apportions it to the different MPOs by using a formula. And from my side, those are the planning and the surface transportation funds. From my side, I'll see to that we get the maximum funding. The formula is, is always a formula which we could contest and try to get the best for our community. So there has been times when, if you look at a per capita basis, some communities get more funds than the others. But unless you understand how the formula is done, it will be very difficult for you to get the best for your community. And having been in this field for a long time, and having discussed with the FDOT about how the formula is done and how the investments are being done for the different communities, I understand how it is being done. And so I can talk it out with them, have detailed discussions, and try to get the best funding for this community. And also, from what I see this community, there's a big need for transit. So my focus will be for alternate transportation. So from what I see now, we have enough roads, and the roads can only take, they have a threshold for capacity for trips. Once it goes beyond that, it gets congested, and we cannot pay our way out of congestion. So we'll have to go out of the box and think about how we bring about alternative transportation to move people from point A to point B. And that's going to be the key thing, whether it's transportation demand management, transportation system management, coordinating our signals, giving priority to transit. I have seen it all. I have done different studies. So I'll be bringing some fresh ideas from what I have implemented back in Miami and Palm Beach. So that'll be something new for you. So I do see here you don't have very robust transit. So that's something I'll be focusing on once I come here.
Thank you. Please share with us your plans for establishing diversity amongst the leadership team.
A diverse community is always flourishes, and you get diverse views. And myself, I'm the odd man out. So when I feel included, I give my best. So I understand how diversity works, and I would see to that no one is left out of the table, and encourage diversity and try to get different points of view. And I think that's very important for the community, to listen to every minority in the community and understand their point of view, and see to that they don't feel left out of all the works that we do. So I will definitely encourage diversity, and I mean, from the logical point of view, you're going to get a diverse opinion and also to keep them involved with the community.
Thank you. Share with us your thoughts on the proposed merger. What challenges do you anticipate and how will you address them?
So the merger of the MPOs is, I think, by far the first big fish whoever becomes the director is going to face. And it'll be something that we'll have to keep the board informed, the pros and cons of it. And I've gone through this back in Palm Beach and Miami. And there's ups and downs to it. The one thing which I see is when you merge, there's a chance that the local problems might not get that much attention, like how they would do if they do it for themselves. Like a small community can feel like they are left out. So before this, they had a pot of money for themselves, for which they could spend it for their own infrastructure needs. But now once it gets merged, that might get affected, at least not in the beginning, but in the long run, that could happen, because when it comes to a whole, you're not looking in terms of communities. Communities can be divided by jurisdiction, but roadways don't have jurisdiction. So we are beyond jurisdiction. So once it becomes a whole, you start looking at things, which problem is much bigger, and how are we going to spend on these bigger problems? And there's a good chance that the problems for a bigger city could be more than a smaller community. So that's the challenge. That's the big thing that could happen. But back in Miami-Dade County and Palm Beach, we understood that. And also, those are three big counties, whereas here, I mean, Hillsborough is a big county, but the other two are not that much. So you imagine, like, Miami is about 3 million, Broward is 2 million, and Palm Beach is 1.5 million. So that's 6.5 million. So it's a huge thing. So we got into a thing. We brought in the SEFTEX, Southeast Florida Regional Council, which kind of like prepares has a thing to prepare the long-range plan, 20-year plan for all the three counties. And then the model, the transportation model, is done for all the three counties anyways, so they take that responsibility. How the SEFTEC is being funded is all the three counties pay equal amount of money to fund the SEFTEC. So that is one way which I have seen. But looking at things from the state's point of view, they do want to see lesser number of MPOs because it will be easier for them to work with. So that pressure is also always going to be there. The state will always want to see the lesser MPOs so that it will be easy for them for their funding and working relationships. So there's pros and cons, as I have explained to you, and it's going to be a challenge. We'll have to present the pros and cons, and I think it's not a done deal yet. So still, we'll have to listen out to everybody. There's going to be a group of people who would be for the merger and some who are not. So, but from our side, we'll have to put the pros and cons and let them take the decision. But we do have some good examples which we can share with you. Thank you.
Thank you. How well do you know the mission and vision of the TPO? Give an example of a project you will consider that meets the mission and vision of the TPO.
Well, the vision of the mission and the vision is to improve our quality of life and create a safe transportation throughout the county. And that's the fundamental, to improve the mobility, reduce congestion, that's the fundamental need for which the TPOs were formed, how the federal government envisioned it, so that the federal government wanted to make investments through the MPOs back in 1962 when it was decided. And the federal government wanted to improve the mobility of the different local areas. And I think that will be the one good thing with the comp plan is it's got a placeholder specifically for Vision Zero, which I think is a great thing. So safety is on top of in the middle of all our formulas. Safety is very key, and Vision Zero is a real thing that we all have to work towards. And I'm very, very dedicated to that, and see to that you know, we work on it and we achieve the goals of Vision Zero. And then, you know, there's always going to be a conflict between growth and mobility, which is, you know, which might affect our quality of life. So back in the days when we had concurrency, it was like some great policy where we could, you know, say, you know, for all the developments that we do, we should have infrastructure. But then, you know, planning doesn't go with it. Planning is, they create great places. When they create great places, there's going to be more traffic. And that's when we went for, you know, which is a bigger need for the community. We need great places. So we had to compromise on the transportation needs. That's why we brought in transportation concurrency exception areas. So I've kind of looked at things both from the planning side and from the transportation side. So just to improve the quality of life, I think we need to have transportation should coordinate with planning, you know, sync with it and create great communities. And I think lots of things that we see today is we have great downtowns, but it's very congested, because I see mostly it's not connected with transit, and also there's not enough pedestrian and bike paths in the downtown areas. And that's something which I'll be focusing on, and which is going to help the quality of life that's the bottom line. And I think that's the mission and vision, to create great communities.
Thank you. At this point, we will open it up to the board for questions.
Board members? Commissioner Owen?
Thank you for being here today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
The unincorporated part of Hillsborough County really makes up our largest population, and we have a huge migration of people to East and South County, and that's going to continue in the future. You kind of mentioned, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I was interested when you kind of mentioned that, I'm paraphrasing, but that we have enough roads and we need some fresh ideas that are maybe alternate to road improvements. Could you elaborate on what some of those fresh ideas would be?
So based on my experience, you know, these have been happening. You know, I can talk elaborately like how we handle things back in Miami. Homestead is something like a very rural area in Miami, where they don't have, you know, mostly agricultural lands, not much going on there. But now, since the pressure on development is there in Miami, a lot of residences are coming there. And one complaint from that community is, we do have a lot of people here, we don't have jobs. We always have to go to downtown Miami for all our, you know, for the jobs and the other major needs. So that complaint, you know, we were able to address it by connecting Homestead with a good fixed guideway transit system, the US 1 Express, US 1 Transitway. So, and now, you know, that is one of the 6 corridors we are developing now. You know, 3 of those corridors, already Miami has a good metro rail system, and now, you know, due to listening to people from different parts of the community, it's not like it came about yesterday. It took like 10 years for us to understand what the needs were. And now we have got the southern transit system, which is going to connect Homestead to downtown Miami. And construction is going on. We are hoping that next year we'll be opening that transit. So that is one way we are satisfying them. As I said, roads can only take that much of traffic. We'll have to look at transit more seriously. It's for some reason we don't take transit that seriously, because whenever we talk about transit, we talk about fare box, and we say what's the, it doesn't match the fare box, how much of money we can be spending one way without getting something back. Those type of talks always happen. But when it comes to roads, we don't talk about it. I-95, we just keep driving. What does I-95 bring us? We don't get any benefit from that. Only in the toll roads we get some benefit. We get money back. But we are of the mindset thinking that, oh, we can spend on roads. Look at the IIJA, the recent act. 92% of the money goes for roadways. So we don't have the mindset for transit. We don't have the mindset. Even your Vision Zero will become so much more easier. Today you have 88% of your traffic by roads. Only when you have traffic on roads, you're going to have accidents. Think about it. Yeah. If you could reduce that 88% to 60%, your Vision Zero, a large portion of your Vision Zero is accomplished. So we need to have a change in mindset. There needs to be a paradigm shift right from the top level. And from my side, I'm going to put pressure on the state and the feds to bring more money into transit. Today, the feds are spending about $2.5 billion a year, which is peanuts. And even those $2.5 billion, you do a beauty contest. Throughout the country, different places say, this is the transit system we want to develop, new starts, they give their projects, and the feds look at all the different characteristics, and then they say, oh, okay, this is, they did the analysis through the best software, and they get this many points, and kind of like a beauty system, and they give the project to them, which I think is a wrong thing to do. And especially when you're spending only like 5 to 6% of the total money on transit, I think there has to be a shift in the mindset.
Yeah, and I think we have probably a little different. You were talking about Homestead in Miami, and I think you mentioned there's not a lot of agriculture. East and south part of Hillsborough County is actually pretty dominant with agriculture. So we have lots of land. Would you still say that a solution would be some type of mass transit for, in essence, I guess you could say the entire county, including East and South County?
Yeah, I mean, it's very rudimentary here. You hardly have any transit here. So somebody has to start it. Somebody has to put the seeds. And for it, I don't know who was started back in Miami like 20 years ago. It all starts with an idea. Then once the idea comes in, we do a planning study and see how feasible it is. We look at the different trip generators and attractors, and we do a study and we see how these trip attractors could be connected to the generators, and how we could do it in such a way, it has to compete with your cars. It's so difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, cars are so convenient. To take people out of the cars is so difficult, but still, we got to keep trying.
Yeah, and I'll wrap up real quick. I'm taking too much time. So how would you think, or how would you propose, that's a large, pretty massive mass transit system, how would you propose that would be paid for in Hillsborough County?
We need to get, I mean, one thing is your surtax. I think you lost that opportunity, but it's not like totally lost. You can always, come back to that, In Miami-Dade, we do have dedicated funding for transit, and that is very important. You know, when you're not getting help from the feds, when you're not getting that much help from the state, so you got to have some of your own dedicated funding. So one is your surtax, and the other thing is your mobility fee. I don't know how, I know you guys have mobility fee, but I don't know how that mobility fee works here. Back in Miami, when we collect impact fees for mobility, we have 3 pots of money. One is for roads, one is for transit, and one is for the bike and ped. So you need dedicated funding if you want to have some vision and dreams of transit. So that's one way to go about.
Thank you. Thank you for being here today. Appreciate you. Okay.
Actually, I think the commissioner pretty much answered or asked the questions that I was going to answer or ask.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you.
I have 2 questions. I'm going to ask, it's one question, but I'm going to ask it in 2 parts so that you can focus. I'll read it and then I'll read one part. 2 things that are really important for this job are a person's ability to lead an organization with respect, collaboration, clear and ongoing communication and vision, and 2, a person's ability to manifest results. So I'm going to go back to number 1, and I'm just going to ask you to give an example of a time that you've done both of those things. So first, an example of when, of your ability to lead an organization with respect, collaboration, clear and ongoing communication and vision.
So the one thing I would say is collaboration. When we did the mobility fee back in Miami, we had extensive collaboration, especially with the cities. You know, they wanted to know how they are going to get their funding from these mobility fees, because back there we collect the impact fees for the cities also. So when we spend, we'll have to, they were more interested in knowing how we are going to share it with them. So there's a lot of collaboration involved there. And, you know, because we have a League of Cities out there, so they were part of the project working committee, and we involve them throughout, you know. Just because they are city, we don't, you know, even though the major portion is the county, we don't leave them out. We do respect their needs, and we bring them to the table, listen to what they want, and that's how we came out. It took like 3 years for us to, you know, bring people together, see how we are going to collect the funds, see how we are going to spend the funds. You know, everyone were there, and everyone's opinion we listened to, and at the end of the day, we came up with some very good projects which we could spend on. So overall, I think people were happy because, you know, this is the first time to get money for, I mean, transit and the bike ped. So the cities were very happy because they had all their local circulators for which they could get money, and also, you know, to do their connections for pedestrian and cyclists. So we did a lot of you know, collaboration for 3 years. We had meetings every month. You know, that's how we did that.
Thank you, but I appreciate that as like your ability to manifest that result. But I was talking more about like internally. How do you work with and collaborate with your staff, and you know, working with respect and collaboration and communication and vision? Can you just talk about how you do that with the people who work for you right now?
So with the staff, we do have regular staff meetings where the staff, they air out their opinions. We have a project of, we just brainstorm, you know, sit down and we say, oh, what is ailing, why, you know, in that particular meeting, this person came and they were, complaining about this, is that real? And, we talk about all those feedback that we get from the people, and we brainstorm among ourselves to see what is the best solution. So the staff will be motivated if they are getting involved with all the things that are going on, and and you have to be transparent with them. See, from my side, what I do is I give them the feedback of what I know, what the board thinks. Since I have more contact with the board, and I understand where each of the board members are coming from, and there's a board member for that particular community which you're talking about, I'll give them, let them know what the board thinks about it, so that it's a two-way street. I give them what is from above, and they give their own opinions. And when we have projects, we discuss about it extensively, and they get involved with everything. And there will be one project manager for each project. So that project manager will also, they'll be conducting those meetings, whether it's the technical advisory committee meeting or something, they'll be the point person. But every week when we meet, they give us the feedback of what happened and what they're doing. So that way, if they need some help, I will give them extra staff to help, or if they need some guidance from me, I will share it with them. That's how I have done in the past.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
School Board Member Vaughn.
Thank you. I had an opportunity to speak one-on-one with the other two candidates yesterday and ask them my question, but we didn't have
Thanks
that
for meeting me.
opportunity.
Yep.
So I wanted to ask it to you. As a school board member, we're heavily involved in transportation, whether it's all of our buses on the roads, whether it's our parents on the roads, whether it's our students who are pedestrians, and primarily making sure that we have access to our schools and to transportation as well as safety as a priority. And unfortunately, we haven't had the best luck in our transportation struggles with different municipalities, making our schools more accessible when it comes to transportation. What would be your thoughts in this role to working with the school district to advocating and addressing some of our needs more?
Well, Safe Routes to School is a very important program that we have, and and we have to see, if all the schools are well connected, especially pedestrian and bike connections. So that's something very important, and we need. I think here they should be having the maps that are showing that gaps in the sidewalks where there's no bike paths, those type of things. There will be a needs map. So we have to fill those gaps. And the most important thing is we need funding for all those pedestrian and bike paths. So, one way is, to find more funding opportunities, whether we could tap the state resources. We do have the transportation alternative programs where, once a year, I don't know how much you guys spend here for the transportation alternative programs. That's a federal program. We have to use those funds. I mean, if you see the priority, the number one priority will be to connect the schools, right? So that's something that we have to focus more on, use those funds. And also, back in Palm Beach, we had the local initiative programs. They used to take funds from the surface transportation funds, and for Palm Beach, which is the size of Hillsborough, which is like 1.5 million, we had about 26 million per year, and we used to give money for non-regional projects. So that is something which I have experience with, and we call it as a local initiatives, which are non-regional programs. So those type of, the bottom line is we have to find funding for all to get these infrastructure done. And you know what? Schools, when the traffic is good, you'll hear people saying, oh, the schools are closed? That's why the traffic is so good. They occupy a major part of our roads. And so we have to take the school traffic really seriously and how they are getting connected. So yeah, the basic thing is you have to find projects and funding. at the end of the day, it's all projects, how you get things done. And I always say, the management guru, Peter Drucker, he used to say, all your plans are mere waste of paper if it quickly doesn't disintegrate into projects. So I'm very serious about it. At the end of the day, it's going to be more project-oriented planning. I mean, we have to give projects which are shovel-ready for the next step. You know, a project goes through so many phases. You know, one is the starting phase is the idea, second is the planning, programming, then you have the designing, right-of-way, and construction. So the first 3 stages are managed by the MPO. So I think that's very important.
May I ask one quick follow-up question?
Yes.
I appreciate that. One of the major issues that we have was our schools were not, especially our elementary schools, were not designed for the type of parent drop-off that we have now. And because the state changed the 2-mile radius with the busing and the funding, now we have most elementary school parents who are dropping their kids off, and our schools weren't designed for that. A lot of the solution, it seems like, would be if we paved the easements that allow an additional lane for the parent pickup, so that we take that traffic off the main highways, whether it's in a community or the main roadways. Would you see that being a priority as something that you would look at as
sure.
paving those easements in our
That's a
long
given.
plain term? Okay.
That's a given. I mean, this is something new that I'm hearing, because always we have the drop-off and separate lanes, totally demarcated from the regular traffic. That's a no-brainer.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Board Member
Yes.
Klur.
Thanks. Thank you for coming here, and you mentioned Miami.
Thank you for having me here.
Thank you. So Miami has a port, and our port is probably 10 times the size of Miami. We're the largest port in the state, and port in Miami, also in Palm Beach. They're limited, their footprint. Ours is not only in the city, but it's also in an unincorporated county. It's down in Apollo Beach and Port Sutton and different areas. And so we have real concerns about getting our cargo from our port over to Plant City and Polk County, and going north and south and west over Pinellas County. So freight corridors are really important to us. And what's your approach to protecting those freight corridors and obtaining funding for those? Thanks.
The state has a freight model, because the state handles the state highways, and the model we have in the county doesn't look at freight, but freight is very important. I mean, we have planned for, I don't know how much of planning has been done here, especially for the inland ports. If you have enough space currently, or if you're planning for any new inland ports where you could store your cargoes away from the existing port, that's something that I have to study. But freight traffic is very important. Each truck means more jobs. The more the trucks, the more the jobs. That's how I look at freight. So it's very important, and we have to give it the necessary attention and to make things moving much better for the freight. And I mean, it's a coordinated process, and we'll have to coordinate extensively with the port if they have some issues, especially if their trucks are not moving at the correct efficiently. So that's something which is very important, because freight means, for me, it means more jobs.
Okay. Anyone else? You? Megan?
Okay. Yes, we have a remaining 6.5 minutes, so we can take a break if
Okay.
folks are like.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank
Megan?
you.
Thank you
so
for
much.
having me here. It was a pleasure talking with every one of you. I spoke to some of you one-on-one. I did get good feedback, and I think it's going to be useful for my professional life to understand how people think differently. Thank you very, very much for having me here.
Also,
Yes,
just a reminder to please make sure you put the candidate name and then your name and clearly, so that our tabulators can see that. Thank you.
Good morning. We'll resume with our final interview. Megan?
Yes. Hello, I'd like to welcome Mr. Stephen Benson. Hello. So for today's interview, it will be a maximum time of 45 minutes. The first part of it will be questions that I will be asking, and then I will be opening it up to the board. We do ask that you are concise in your answers, and I will give a 2-minute warning if we get to that point. All right, thank you. First question. The TPO board is comprised of members of various organizations who often have different priorities. How would you balance these priorities and synthesize them into a unified strategy? How will you listen to the voices of all stakeholders while preventing a vocal minority from taking over?
Thank you for that question, and thank you for allowing me to be here today. I'm really proud to be in front of this great group of people and here to be considered to lead this incredible organization. So I think that is the challenge of most government agencies. It's cutting through the disagreement and the discord to find the areas of consensus, and then doing the work on the staff part to bring you ready-to-go projects, ready-to-go priorities, a ready-to-go funding package for each project that doesn't have a lot of controversy because it reflects the decisions that you have already made. That is something that I try to do in my current position that I hold. I try to bring recommendations forward that are based upon decisions that I've already made, that are based upon comments and votes that the board has already done, and I try to reflect that in the recommendations that I bring forward. I think that if you really sit down and look, for instance, at the long-range plan, if you look at our prioritization criteria and you look at the projects, for instance, that are in the county and the city's capital improvement programs, and the priorities that are in the department's long-range, the FDOT's long-range plan and FDOT's SIS plan, there's a lot more commonality across those documents than there is otherwise. But I think that sometimes we spend more time talking about what's different than what is the same and trying to move the priorities forward that we all agree with. And that's something that I'm committed to do, is to do my best to try to make sure that we're focused on areas where we are the most likely to agree and the most likely to get something done and move something forward.
Thank you. Today's employment market is extremely competitive. Please share with us the strategies you intend to use to attract and retain top talent.
This is really challenging right now. I think that ultimately it starts with corporate culture and the organizational attitude that we have. I think that being part of the Planning Commission is a huge strength because there is a really wonderful workplace culture and organizational culture, and people thankfully want to work here, want to work at the TPO and want to work at the MPO. Recently, some of the strategies that I've employed in recruiting top talent, and I'm really proud of some of the recent hires that I've made, people with more experience, more specialization in their specific areas than I have. And it's getting out there and actually being part of the industry. It's going to conferences and looking at who the best and the brightest are and actually talking to them and building a relationship with them. And even if they're not part of your organization right now, it's knowing who the top talent is in each field. Unfortunately, this is a very niche area of the planning world and of the transportation world. And so there's really only a handful of people that have expertise in specific areas. So you have to be out there going to some of these events, going to conferences, building relationships, especially with other organizations. And that's what's worked for me, especially in this challenging market.
Thank you. Most, but not all, of the funds that support this TPO are federal and state grants dedicated to planning. Please share with us how you intend to prioritize the funding needs of the organization while still meeting the needs of the community.
So I think that's a great way of looking at it. You know, federal and state, there are a lot more strings and a lot more individual pots of money within those subsets. That is why the staff works so hard to bring you what appears to be a simple priority list. There's a lot more behind the scenes that go into the recommendations that they bring you and what funding pots they recommend for specific projects. I think that generally speaking, the prioritization criteria in spirit that you already have works pretty well. Maintenance being the first priority, in my opinion, is it makes a lot of sense. Why would you spend the limited dollars that you have expanding a system when you're not necessarily sure you can afford to maintain the system you already have? The second priority being safety. I don't think I have to enumerate why safety is so important theoretically, but also important to our region, because we are the #1 on a lot of lists that we do not want to be #1 on. You know, moving into the more efficient ways to move people, capacity expansion and widening roads is an important solution to a lot of problems. It's not the solution to every problem, and it's very, very expensive. It's probably one of the least efficient ways you can spend a dollar to move people. And so that's why looking at alternative modes, how we can get the most bang for our buck, and also looking at technology and smart cities type solutions, how to move traffic more efficiently without spending the most amount of money that we possibly can, so that we can spread it around the community and actually create benefit for more than just one specific neighborhood. All I'm doing is explaining to you in my own words the prioritization criteria you've already approved. I think there are different ways that it could potentially be applied every cycle, and that's what I would bring to the table with the priorities every year is using the same general philosophy but trying to apply it in different ways to hopefully create a package every year that does something for all of our different jurisdictions and all of the different constituents that you represent.
Thank you. Please share with us your plans for establishing diversity amongst the leadership team.
I think from a diversity standpoint and from an equity standpoint, the fundamental principle I think that I would be able to control is doing my best to make sure that the staff that we have represents the community we serve, and that we are a reflection of that. Looking at the demographics, the income levels, the interests, the opinions. I really believe in a diverse organization that has differing opinions. I believe in debate. I like to hire people that disagree with me and that challenge me to think differently, and that is how I would reflect. I think diversity in professional hiring and bringing in new talent. I would also want to look to the managers and the assistant directors that we already have and get input from them on where they feel like the gaps are and where they feel like, we really aren't representing, certain parts of the community the way that we probably ought to be. So how can we maybe get more voices at the table in our leadership team that understand some of the needs and challenges of parts of the county that maybe aren't currently represented on staff?
Thank you. Share with us your thoughts on the proposed merger. What challenges do you anticipate and how will you address them?
So I think I've been pretty consistent in the way that I look at the merger conversation, and I think that looking at the fundamental requirements for metropolitan planning for what we are being tasked to do by the federal government and the state government, I think that the process can work well, could work well, merged, it could work well remaining separate. The devil, so to speak, is in the details of the apportionment plan and what ultimately comes forward as a structure and what Hillsborough County can get out of that. I think that we're in a really great position to influence and help guide that process in a way that produces the best possible outcome for Hillsborough County. But at the same time, we're really a cross-section of the region. We have a little bit of everything, a little bit of every lifestyle, a little bit of every type of neighborhood, type of community. I think that there are a lot of commonalities across the major cities. I think Tampa and St. Pete have a lot of the same issues and a lot of the same concerns. I think that parts of the suburban and rural areas of Hillsborough County have a lot of the same concerns and issues as parts of Pasco County. It doesn't necessarily mean that the structure that we have with multiple MPOs is broken. But there are a lot of benefits to merging, and I think that looking at what the federal requirements are, bringing the facts to the table and being completely transparent with the community about why we're doing this and what we are absolutely certain will come true as a benefit is the key to doing it and doing it in the right way. But again, I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that we will not be able to continue a successful metropolitan planning process as separate MPOs or merged.
Thank you. How well do you know the mission and vision of the TPO? Give an example of a project you will consider that meets the mission and vision of the TPO.
That's a tough one. I'm going to give an example of a project that that I had the honor of being able to work on with the Florida Department of Transportation and with both MPOs, the Ford Pinellas, the Pinellas MPO, as well as Hillsborough MPO, and that is the Howard Franklin Bridge reconstruction project that's currently underway. It's I think we all see it when we drive over the bridge, and for those of you that were on the board at the time, I think you remember when it was brought forward that there was a lot of consternation, there was a lot of debate, a lot of discussion about what that new bridge would look like, what would be incorporated, how do we get transit on the bridge, and it wasn't necessarily a linear process. It was we went in different directions, but eventually we got to a solution that made both sides of the bay happy, and that the department was proud and ready to move forward. There were additional measures put in place to support future transit up to a light rail technology. It doesn't mean there's going to be light rail on the bridge, but that was a compromise that was made to at least put the measures in place so that it could be added in the future. A trail was added rather late, I think, in the environmental process to the bridge, and that was done, I think, based upon a motion from the Hillsborough's committees initially, and then Pinellas's committees weighed in and asked for the same thing. It was incrementally broken down into how can we turn this project into something that meets all of the different performance measures and outcomes that you've already weighed in on your priority list, right? So the managed lanes move traffic more efficiently without inducing more demand. That is something that I know we're trying to do, is move traffic more efficiently without producing more negative consequences. The trail addresses the walk-bike priorities that you have and the safety priorities that you have. And then the capacity expansion, and most importantly, the regional investment is huge because that sends a message that we can work in partnership with Pinellas County to deliver projects that we all agree on. And that's why I think it's an example that embodies the mission of our organization, but also the mission that we have as one MPO within a larger TMA to deliver priorities where there's commonality across our partner jurisdictions.
Thank you. Now I will open it up to any questions from the board.
Okay. Councilman Maniscalco.
Not so much questions, but just a couple of comments. First, we're really lucky to have such wonderful candidates. You're the last one today, and each candidate has an amazing resume and experience. You have the experience of pedestrian safety, bicycle safety, and working with FDOT, then in the city capacity, and now, as a candidate here. And just like the other candidates, the experience that you bring in working with so many jurisdictions and so many departments per se, and coming here, no specific questions because I think you answered everything thoroughly that was asked and confidently, but just to say that we're really lucky to have such great candidates. Thank you.
Commissioner Coyne.
Thank you, and I agree, Councilman Maniscalco. I think that the quality of all three candidates today has been excellent, and I think we would be well served by any of our choices. I wanted to just go back for a minute to the proposed merger and talk a little bit about what you see as the flashpoints of disagreement that might exist between the three counties that are considering merging together?
I think the apportionment plan is the #1 issue and the #1 topic. And to be very frank, this board couldn't even agree on a reapportionment plan for our own county. So it's going to be a challenge to figure out how to agree on one for the entire region. Part of that is the way that the boards are currently structured. Hillsborough is the only board that has non-electeds sitting on the board. Doesn't mean they shouldn't continue to be on a regional board. It just means when you come to the table, you have to figure out how that's going to be negotiated with these 2 other counties where their entire boards are elected officials. The other challenge that we have is that based upon the new census data, which I know undercounted the urban areas because it happened during COVID, Hillsborough is just barely under 50% of the region's population. So what does that mean for us in terms of negotiating? It's not insurmountable, but these are all realities that we have to face if we're going to go forward. We can't just rely on the population distribution because it's not going to get us the amount of influence and the amount of authority that I think this board wants to continue to have in the regional conversation.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Hurtag?
Thank you. Of course, my screen goes blank. Transparency in values is very important. Even when working with people who have just different values and who disagree. What are your top 3 values in developing plans for the public domain?
Well, I consider transparency to be a value, and what I mean by transparency is putting everything on the table. I think the merger conversation is one that could benefit from a lot more transparency and a lot more accountability about what the motivation is behind it, what goals are we setting forth, and what facts do we have that we are 100% certain will produce benefits for our community. Not hypothetical, not vague, but we need concrete reasons why we're doing this. The other value that I think we would try to embody is integrity, making sure that not just why we're doing things is clear, but also that it aligns with what we're saying. Our actions need to align with our words. If we're talking about something and not taking action, it's really not being. There's an integrity, I think, issue there because it creates a great soundbite. It sounds like we're moving things forward, but at the end of the day, when you look at the action items, no action has been taken, and I think that frustrates some of our committees. I think it frustrates a lot of you that we spend all this time, but when you look at the actions, there's not consensus, there's not agreement. And I think part of that is just being really upfront and holding each other accountable for why we're here and with the business that we're trying to get done for each other. And then that kind of segues into accountability. The relationships that we have with our partner agencies, they're partnerships, but if you look at how we're structured and the legal framework behind them, we regulate each other to some extent. So there is an accountability, framework there. It doesn't mean that it's not a partnership, that we're not acting in good faith, but the reality is there are levers in place and there are checks and balances in place across all of the different organizations that you represent that influence why the projects that we speak about at these meetings do or don't get moved forward and don't get built. So I think transparency, integrity, and accountability would be the 3 that I would bring forward and that I would make sure are reflected in our documents and our plans.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Councilman Clandendon.
Thank you, Mr. Benson. I appreciate the answers to the question, and I am impressed with the high caliber of the answers that you've given. A couple of questions that hadn't been addressed yet, and I'm probably going to steal one of my coworker here's thunder on this, but what do you see, obviously a couple of balance issues. Clearly, currently you work for the city of Tampa, but you have maybe you could highlight some of the other experience that you've had that is not just the city of Tampa to show that, your interest in other areas and your expertise and your past successes in other areas of the county. But how do you see balancing the needs of the urban core against the needs of our suburban and rural areas with the explosive growth that we're seeing in Southeast Hillsborough County and then the needs that we have to improve transportation across the county. I may be a resident of the city of Tampa, and I'm elected to represent the city of Tampa, but I'm also a resident of Hillsborough County. So it's clear to me that we have to strike some type of balance. So I'd be curious to see how you see that, and two, what do you feel like the role of the TPO is in moving that type of an agenda forward?
So I know, I talk a lot about safety and pedestrian bicycle type projects, but I think in my career I've probably worked on major capacity projects and widening projects, more of them than I have of the alternative, or maybe at least 50-50. When I was at the department, we obviously had, Secretary Gwynn oversees a jurisdiction of 5 counties, the majority of which is rural and suburban. The urban areas are very few and far between. So a lot of the conversation revolved around what is the appropriate solution or priority for that community. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. As I said earlier, Hillsborough is a great cross-section because you have a little bit of everything. I think that's why so many people want to move here and want to live here. But the solutions that I know are appropriate for the city of Tampa are just not going to make sense for Waimama, for Balm, for Lithia. The solutions I think that some people are looking for in Brandon and Town and Country are not going to be the same solutions that Tampa has. Maybe one day we'll get to a point where Brandon, based upon its long-range plan, based upon the vision that community has for the future, is going to be more of a Tampa. But we're just not necessarily there yet. I think Temple Terrace and Plant City are other examples of, we have to start with what the vision is for that community in the future. What type of growth do they want to see? What type of development do they want to see? How much change do they want to see? And then that's what we plan for with transportation, to try to support that with the improvements that we're bringing forward. It doesn't mean that we're going to bring, everybody gets a widening project, everybody gets a trail project. It really should be bottom up from each community telling us what they want to see. And I would be shocked if it was the same. In fact, I know it's going to be different in every different cross section.
Just to follow up, can you highlight some of your past experience prior to working for the city?
Sure. So I started my career working for a local consulting firm in Tampa that worked primarily, really entirely as a consultant to government, working for cities, counties, MPOs. I worked on some of the MPOs' planning documents. I think the Bicycle Safety Action Plan that won a federal USDOT award about 10 years ago. I worked on that as a consultant. From that position, I was recruited into District 7, into FDOT, to work in traffic operations, doing signal warrant analyses and a lot of dry engineering work, a lot of technical work out in the field, counting cars and counting people. And then I moved into the safety arena in the department, and then switched to the totally other side of the building in planning, and got to work on bigger projects, bigger issues, got to work with groups like this trying to move regional priorities forward. And then from about 7 years at FDOT, I was somewhat recruited to come to the city of Tampa to assist them with determining how to allocate and spend the recently approved surtax dollars in a manner that was consistent with the referendum. And that's what I spent my initial time at the city doing, was helping to put together actionable projects and an actionable work plan that could honestly be implemented in a very quick, rapid amount of time, because there was a very short time frame, as you remember, from when that money was approved and when the money was going to start flowing. So then I was asked to lead a newly created department that was focused on generalized and broad long-range planning across all of the different functional areas of the city. And that is what I spent the last several years doing, is building that department and setting it up for success. And that's the role that I'm currently in now, is the director of that department. Thanks.
Okay. Commissioner Owen?
Thank you for being here today. And as the councilman was just alluding to, I actually represent East and South County, and as you know, the overwhelming majority of the folks of Hillsborough County live in unincorporated. And you touched on a little bit on that we got to come up with some alternative solutions rather than, for example, road widening, which is very expensive. Can you give examples on how to help those folks out there in East and South County that would be considered kind of an alternative mode that you referenced?
Sure. Well, before I say that, I'm gonna just be honest that I think there's a backlog of capacity expansion in East and South County, and I don't know that it's widespread, but there are a couple of areas where there were capacity projects that should have been done 20 years ago, and I think we're only going to get so far with the quick wins. But as far as quick wins go, I mean, it's traffic engineering 101 that congestion starts and ends at the intersection. It's not between the intersections so much as it is the intersection itself. And that's why I think a lot of the priorities the department's moving forward are related to intersection improvements, turn lanes, intersection rebuild, even replacing an intersection with concrete pavement like was just done at Bloomingdale at 301 means they're not going to have to come back as often to repave and improve that intersection because the concrete lasts longer. These are small improvements, but that's a good thing because it means we can afford to do a lot of them in multiple places at one time. You can spend all your money on one big project if you want, but it's going to soak up your money for multiple years. Yeah. And I don't know that that's what you're trying to accomplish.
No, I think that's, yeah, I understand what you're saying, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but having a sometimes mixed approach to widening with roundabouts and just being smarter with lights and timing can make a big difference in a road. And there are certain roads that, like you stated, that it's just so expensive to widen a road. We're finding out if we don't own the corridors. So.
And just the other comment I'll make also, and I know we're feeling this in the city, is construction fatigue. Mm-hmm. Intersection improvements are a lot easier to get in and get out. If you want to come and widen a road, it's a 5-year process, and you are going to hear about it for 5 years straight from everyone living along that road. Again, it's a fact of life, but it should factor into the decision-making up front.
Yeah, and you touched on, I think you mentioned our prioritization, smart cities, Vision Zero, and I think last was improvements to major roads. Could you just allude on what you think is as important as to priorities?
I think the priority in spirit, prioritizing that way for transparency purposes, I think is really important. If you would like for me to make just a suggestion,
sure.
One of the topics that I would like to discuss, internally with staff and kind of workshop with you all, is potentially every year establishing a ceiling for each of those buckets. And then maybe that can be driven, maybe something we can look at with the long-range plan to establish a ceiling that has some tolerance every year for the board to say, well, we put a little bit too much into maintenance, maybe we should do that, we should put a little bit more into smart cities this cycle. If we put a little bit too much into smart cities, let's put some into capacity expansion. I think the ranking should stay there. I think it's an important message to send to the community that in spirit, we know what we're doing with how we're spending your money. But what I've noticed is that within each bucket, not to get too technical, but within each bucket, if not every project is ready to go, they skip it and go to the next one. And that's not always transparent to you how many of those projects in that bucket you're going to get to in a specific year. So establishing a ceiling, I think, helps bring a little bit more predictability into what actually comes back from the department with money attached to it, rather than just waiting and crossing your fingers that they're going to get to your project this cycle.
Yeah, good. And let me know, Charles, if I'm stepping on your feet a little bit. We recently had an issue. It was actually right when I got here. I'm brand new. And to make 275 kind of a boulevard, which would kind of get in the way of us moving freight and just moving people, could I get your position on that?
Sure. I think that as you all know, there are a lot of different boards and entities that are working on transportation right now. Our mission is to look at the future and to be long range and to be aspirational. So I do not want to represent myself as someone that's going to say no to an aspirational idea that people are excited about. I think that's why this organization exists, is to think long-term and to be visionary. However, I do think that there is a reasonableness that is going to be applied in the public forum, and so based upon some conversations that I was allowed to have, when I was at FDOT about this topic specifically with national experts, that have worked on these projects, what, at the time we were trying to figure out how on earth would you make something like this work? How do you model it? How do you what do we have to do to the parallel routes? How much transit do we really need to put to really make it look like something, objectively speaking, that we can show people we've analyzed it more than just what's been done to date, which has been a lot of work and a lot of passion put into it, so far. And I was a little surprised by the response from these national experts it is never going to look like it works if you're only looking at it from a modeling traffic engineering perspective. The communities that have done it because it reflects, that type of solution reflects the values. And if the values of your community do not align with this type of a solution, it's not going to move forward. So it's beyond math, honestly, it's beyond the technical work that your staff does. It really lies with the board. If it's an aspirational idea that you want to consider, it doesn't mean we're going to do it in the next 20 years or 50 years or 100 years, but this is the right forum to have those conversations. But it's important to bring an element of reasonableness to it, to say, we're here to be aspirational, but we're also here to get something done. And the first solution is probably not going to be something like that.
Yeah, well, thank you for being here today and for your answers to my questions. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Watson.
Circling back, I was confused. Were you involved in the grade level project? Because you said you were talking to national experts.
In the boulevard?
For the boulevard.
No, at the time, the department was being asked questions by the TPO and by the community. And so as part of that process of determining and I think also there was federal legislation passed. And so there were just questions circling around about, what does this mean? How do you analyze it if something's proposed? There are other states that have worked on projects like this. Granted, their projects have had, a tenth of the traffic. But other states had looked at it. And so that was the research that we were doing, was to determine, how did other states analyze this? What type of model did they run to, figure out if this was something they would tolerate or not?
Okay, I'll reframe, I guess, a question that I have is, question number one from Mrs. Boterney was, how would you manage to make sure that a topic doesn't get hijacked basically by a vocal minority? Am I paraphrasing that correctly? And we've heard a lot today about the very important access to freight corridors, how that could be economically disadvantageous to the entire community. Commutes to work would increase. So if the topic of grade level boulevards were to come up again, what would be your position and how would you handle it if once again this vocal minority arose on the topic?
I think what's important to frame the discussion in is what type of time frame are we talking about? Is this a TIP conversation? I don't think it's a TIP conversation. I think maybe it's a long-range plan conversation, although, the horizon year for your plan is 25 years. It may be beyond that. And when I say it may be beyond that, I mean, it might be appropriate to have the conversation through a long-range lens. I don't think it's appropriate to have it through a short-range lens. I don't think that the ducks are in a row yet, and based upon the actions this board's already taken, you're not ready to make a decision like that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member McClure.
Yeah, thanks. So basically, thank you, commissioners, for mentioning freight. And so that's very important to us at the port, of course, is the movement of freight. And I just want to commend Ms. Alden. Shortly after she became executive director, she did facilitate and coordinate a study with FDOT and the counties in Hillsborough and Polk to look at freight corridors going from Hillsborough over to Polk. There's a lot of, cargo going over there. It's not just containers for those DCs that we see over there, but orange juice. We bring a lot of orange juice in the port and we ship it over to Polk County. We used to export orange juice, and now we're shipping it into those same facilities over there, also aggregates, et cetera. But it also applies across the entire region. It's not just those two counties. And so what is your approach to trying to protect those freight corridors and obtaining funding so we can continue those operations?
I think it's a question of looking at where the boat, again, even the freight conversation is going to be impacted by the realities that this board has to face with limited funding, we only have a certain amount of time to talk about topics during these meetings, and I don't think you all want to schedule more meetings. So I would say we would need to look at where the biggest bottlenecks are and where the biggest problems are and prioritize them. I think that's generally the spirit that has driven the approach to freight. Regionally, it maybe hasn't been consistent over the last 15, 20 years, but you know, the I-4 Selman connector is a great example of a partnership and a major economic investment that wasn't just beneficial for the port, it was beneficial for Ybor City, it was beneficial for, you know, the neighborhood there, it was beneficial for the region. Again, I think those are the kinds of regional projects that check, you know, 5 or 6 boxes, freight being a huge one, where we're gonna see change. So that's what I would do, is I would look at bottlenecks, and then I would overlay that on top of all the other needs that we have, and look for where, hey, we're hitting 5 things in this one area. Is there a solution that we can move forward and spend our limited dollars on that's gonna address freight, but also address some other things as well?
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, Megan?
All right, we have 10 minutes remaining in that 45 minutes, so I will defer to Chairman Myers on how she, basically, what I need you all to do is wrap up or finish up your scoring, and then once you've finished up your scoring on all 3, just kind of raise your hand and I'll come by and collect them, and then our get them and sorted, they will be tabulating out there. Yes.
And thank you so much. Hold on one second. Let's thank him so much for his interview.
Thank you
And
for
close
being here
out.
today.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms.
Steve.
Vincent.
Mr. Benson.
Thank you.
Benson.
Thank you all.
Okay, so we use the 10 minutes to finalize our rating and pass those to Megan. Okay. I want to have 2 ratings, and I had asked staff to check to be sure. I'm short one. The rate of shoot. Yes, they only give me 2. I wrote everything down. Thank you. So now we'll continue on with having executive director's report. Beth?
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. And a couple of items. One is that in your board folders this month that you received by email yesterday from our executive assistant, Cheryl Wilkening, you'll have a couple of things in there. One of those is the updated committee reports from this past month. We did remove that from the agenda just to try to save some time for you this morning, but we had not held the CAC and TAC meetings, so that's been updated with the reports from the CAC and TAC in that email that you received. There's also our quarterly invoice report on our planning grants in your email. And one third thing that I'd like to highlight for you in that email is a concept to apply for a federal grant. It's the SMART grant program. We talked about it briefly at our TIP hearing in June. It is a program that supports technological solutions to try to improve traffic flow. And the proposal would be that we submit a grant in collaboration with Hillsborough County to focus on the Lithia Pinecrest Road corridor. You did not discuss that when we talked about our Unified Planning Work Program in May. But I wanted to bring that to your attention to make sure there are no objections to us moving forward with submitting that grant application. Any objections to that?
I think it's genius. I think it's genius. No objection over here.
Well, and we appreciate the opportunity to work with the county on that. Okay, so a couple of other items. I mentioned our Tri-County TMA Leadership Group meeting Friday, September 22nd. Want to thank District 7 for hosting that at their auditorium. It will also be live streamed and recorded, and we'll post it to our YouTube channel for those who can't watch live during the meeting. And then my last item that I wanted to bring up is that we cleared a number of topics off of our agenda for today to give enough time for these interviews, including laying the groundwork for the 2050 Long-Range Transportation Plan. And so I would suggest to you that we convene next month at 8:30 to begin that discussion. It'll begin with an overview of where we are with our revenue forecast for the next 20 to 25 years, and kind of a quick overview of what we're seeing on the needs assessments. And those are the needs assessments for everything that's currently on our priority list: good repair, safety, smart cities, major projects, going down the list. So this is an initial step. This basically kicks off your discussions of priorities and how do we address those priorities. This is a discussion that you're obviously going to be having with your executive director throughout the coming year. So this is sort of a beginning of fact-finding and laying out what you want to be brought forward in the coming year for your decision-making process. So if there are no objections, we'll plan to convene at 8:30 next month.
Yes.
Okay, and that will be my last board meeting with you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Ross?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So before we start deliberating on the candidates, because I know we'll lose everybody as soon as we make any decisions, I did want to take the opportunity to thank some people that have worked very, very hard behind the scenes for a long time on this process. This board tasked me as the chair of the policy committee to kind of work with staff on this, and so there's been a tremendous amount of work done, and so I'd like to thank just quickly a few people. And Beth has been very helpful in this right from the very beginning. To we updated the job description, we talked about the salary bands, we talked about minimum and preferred qualifications, which we brought to you. So Beth has really been very, very helpful in this. Obviously, Megan Paterni has been neck deep in this for quite some time. I will tell you, we made a very wise decision as a board to stay internal. We could have paid a tremendous amount of money and probably not gotten as good a product. So Megan deserves a lot of gratitude for this, and there's been a lot of work and spreadsheets and interview questions and interview panels and how to distill this down to, so it looks simple when you come here and talk about it, but believe me, in between these meetings has been tremendous amount of work. Melissa Zornita has been a big part of this process. She's been in meetings with us all throughout this to kind of hammer this out. As you can imagine, she's very busy, but she has taken a lot of time to devote to this, so we owe her some gratitude. And Gail Reese, who is quietly over there making all this happen, has done a tremendous amount of work on this too, including taking care of this public meet and greet that we had, and a lot of the logistics involved in getting people where they needed to be, and travel, and all the things that we don't really see. So Gail's been a big part of that. So thank you to all of you.
Well, also, I want to say thank you to you. As the chair, you put a lot of work into it, so thank you for all your efforts as well.
Ditto. Okay. Ready to old business and new business?
Yes,
Yes.
I have, I'm sorry, go ahead, Pat.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I know we've known for a while that your retirement is coming, so I guess next month is your last meeting?
Yes.
Okay. And do we have like a retirement party planned, and who's responsible for doing that?
There will be an event, and I'll make sure to share it with all of you.
Okay, because yeah, and I just want to know, is your band playing there?
I have hired them, yes. Yeah, but I'm not planning to sing. Because I want to talk with everybody.
Well, I guess we're going to have next month to say it, but of course, well, I just can't. It's just momentous for me, you leaving and the changing of the guard. So I just, I don't want to pass an opportunity. I know as we're thanking everyone else. I know you were engaged in this and really guiding it as you kind of gently pass the torch. Also, just in terms of this process, thanking you as well.
Good. Commissioner Owen?
Yeah, real quick, and I think, Beth, we already talked about this. I think it's already on the long-range plan, but I wanted to just put it on the record to ask staff to include a new interchange in South County, north of the Manatee County line, as part of the 2050 long-range transportation plan update, and that's it. So, thank you.
Okay. We have a FDOT representative for the 301 PD and E study. Okay.
All right. Hey, good morning, everybody. Brian Hunter with the Florida Department of Transportation. So, sorry, my allergies have been bothering me all morning. But a couple months ago, maybe 6 months ago, we came and we talked to you all about the US 301 PD&E study and the public hearing that we had. We presented that to the board, and we got a lot of feedback, and a letter was submitted to FDOT, and we also got feedback at that public hearing. And so we kind of had an unusual arrangement. We went back, reevaluated what we were looking at doing on US 301, and we held a second public hearing. That was done maybe a month and a half ago. And we were able to incorporate a lot of changes that the TPO board had suggested to us, and I know that Commissioner Wostel had brought this project up last month, so we just wanted to come back and tell you what we had changed for your awareness. So on the corridor from Fowler to Stacy, we were able to reduce the roadway width, so instead of 12-foot lanes, it'll be 11-foot lanes. We also reduced our target speed for the entire corridor. So from Fowler to Stacy, we went from 55 to 45 miles an hour, and north of there from 65 to 55. And so that allows us to really tighten up the corridor and acquire less right-of-way. And we were able to do that. We decreased the impacts to the parklands. This road goes through some environmentally sensitive areas. So we have 9 acres less that will be required to be acquired for this project. And we've also decreased our relocations by 12. So we're down to 20 business and residential relocations. And the total number of parcels went down 28 that we would need by us looking at this and kind of condensing it and making it a little more tighter design. We also added 6-foot sidewalks on the east side of the road up to from Stacy to 56, and a 7-foot buffered bike lane that is going to be up to Stacy from Fowler. And then we've also programmed 2 projects that will be interim projects that should improve safety out there on the corridor. We're going to be putting traffic signals at Harney, Stacy, and McIntosh, so that'll be 3 intersections. We'll have pedestrian accommodations connecting to future trails on the west side of the road and those sidewalks that we will be installing on the east side. And then from Dead River Road to north of the Hillsborough River State Park entrance, we've been able to squeeze in where we can put a 4-foot striped out buffer. Right now, if you drive on that corridor, you know that there's no median, and so we're going to be able to stripe out a 4-foot buffer in that area to improve safety and give people a little more space from that oncoming traffic. But that's just a quick update on the improvements and changes we've made to the PD&E study that came out of some comments that we received from the TPO board. So we really appreciate those comments and having us take a look at the project and see what we can do to make it better for everybody.
Commissioner Watson.
Yeah, did you have anything? I know it was your, okay. So I went, since this has happened, and then I read those horrible statistics of this road, timing-wise, at the exact moment that the commissioners approved thousands of new homes out of a CDD at the north end of this, I went back and found the meeting way before I was elected of this getting pulled. So what do I need to do? I mean, this needs to happen. Not only would it be a huge benefit, in my opinion, to Temple Terrace, but this is basically a death corridor already. And then now we have, what, over 2,000? I can't remember, I think it was over 2,000 new homes, 1,200 that are going to be at the end of it. So what needs to happen for this to be, I don't even know, does it go on a tip? Does it just get put back as a project? What needs to happen for this to be reprioritized?
Yeah.
I mean, because this is significant improvements, by the way, the trails and everything, animal crossings. I mean, it's a lot of work that went into this.
Sure, and I think this is a great question because of the crash record that you mentioned, with a number of severe crashes. And so what our board asked for was a focus on the safety improvements in the near term, and I think the department has done an amazing job targeting, what would be the low cost, quick fix safety improvements to get out there right away, like that 4-foot buffer in the median to reduce the centerline crossover head-on collisions. And we also saw clusters of severe crashes in the vicinity of those 3 intersections that Brian mentioned. So that focus on the quick fix on the safety is great and is the right direction. In the longer term, the additional through lanes on US 301, that would be something you want to evaluate in your long-range transportation plan. And you want to look at that in comparison to the other widening projects that you're considering in your long-range transportation plan and evaluating what your priorities are. So that'll be something that comes back to you within the next year.
Okay, so but right now it was removed entirely. The meeting was hard to understand, but it seemed like a couple years ago it was just removed entirely from them expanding 301 from what it was currently.
So the widening of 301 was evaluated in our last long-range transportation plan, and it didn't rise to the same level as some of the other widening projects. That will get reevaluated and reanalyzed in the next few months for the next long-range transportation plan.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you so much, Brian. Okay, new business? Any new business? Okay, well, we'll just wait a few minutes. We can take a break until, a 2-minute break. Okay.
Well, I don't know that it's relevant, but just to or it is a little bit relevant, but just as long as we have a minute, just to be clear about the 301, those 1,200 homes were approved like a decade and a half ago or something, but just were never ever, the builder decided not to build them at the time. So then it suddenly came up, but they had already been approved many, many years ago, but not built, just to clarify.
Okay. Welcome back, everyone. We're at the final now to make a decision and vote on our final candidate. So I'm going to turn it over to Mayor Ross.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the Chair has asked me to kind of introduce how we'll hopefully work through this so we don't just devolve into 4-hour chaos. So the rankings of the candidates are the following. Dr. Johnny Wong received the highest ranking. This is just a total of everybody's score. He received the highest ranking. Stephen Benson received the second highest ranking, and Mr. Sandinastami received the third highest ranking. So Wong, Benson, and Sandinastami was how the overall scores came in. There's a couple of possible outcomes from the discussion that we're about to embark in. One is, and hopefully this won't happen, one is that we could hire nobody, and the board could say, go back and find somebody else. Two is the board could say, well, we're only interested in this particular candidate and tell the other two, thank you for applying, but we're only interested in one. Hopefully that won't happen either. Three is we would say this is our number one pick, but this would be our second pick. That's what I hope, or even rank them 1, 2, 3. That's what would be nice if that happened, because when we get into negotiations with the final, with the top pick, if salaries don't work out or moving benefits don't work out or whatever the case may be, we can fall back to negotiating with the second person. So it's not mandatory, it's not required, but it would be nice if we could pick a number one and then a number two and authorize staff to go to number two without coming back to us. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Commissioner Coyne.
I assume that the scoring is a matter of public record, so I'm a little bit interested to know what the actual numbers were for each one, just so we know if they were close.
Sure, I'm happy to tell you. Thank you, Commissioner. So Dr. Wong received 477. Mr. Benson received 432.5. And Mr. Sandinastami received 343.5. So those numbers, I mean, they're arbitrary numbers except in relation to each other. But.
Councilman Maniscalco.
I was going to wait and see, are those the ground rules of how we move forward today, or is there more to it?
Well, it's not my place to place ground rules on the board, but I mean, it's however the board wants to proceed. I'm just suggesting that I don't want everybody to think, well, we just have to pick one of the three. You could pick none of the three. Hopefully that won't happen, but you could. I mean, but it would be nice if the board is comfortable with at least two candidates to provide a second candidate, so that when the county, Megan and Melissa start negotiating with the candidate, if things don't work out, they can move to the second person.
Then may I make my comments and recommendations on the candidates? Would that be okay at this time?
Yes.
Okay, so we've seen the scoring system, and Commissioner Cohen asked if it was public record, and you did read the votes. I'll just say again what I said earlier. Very impressive candidates, period. Their resumes speak for themselves. They spoke, they answered, they showed. This is not an easy process. And again, we're very, very lucky that we have these great individuals. Dr. Wong received the greatest number of points, and I'm just speaking for myself. I see that he is the best candidate for us moving forward. He is already, he's coming internally, he understands the process, and I think it would be a smooth transition. Mr. Benson, incredibly impressive. His resume, his past experience, and how he spoke today in presenting and speaking with the board is my second option. However, he is such an asset to the city of Tampa, and I'm speaking as a city of Tampa representative, that I would hate to lose him. I mean, he is that exceptional that it's like the tough situation that we're in, he provides so much to the city. However, as an MPO director or TPO director, he would excel and do great things. Regardless, Dr. Wong would be my first choice. If that doesn't materialize, then I would hesitantly say, well, we don't lose it either way because, you know, he still would be working in the community. Mr. Benson would be an excellent second choice, but I would recommend or make a motion to select Dr. Wong and have Mr. Benson as a second choice should that not materialize.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Maniscalco, second by Mayor Kilton. You ready to vote?
And now I'd like to talk first.
Okay, well, hold on. Councilman Clendenton?
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic because of what I heard is a little bit different from what I'm hearing now. You know, when I heard, I'll be honest with you, my numbers were actually opposite. I felt that Stephen Benson, by far on almost every point, and I've been involved in multiple hiring panels, and I've individually hired, I don't even know how many people, and I think this was one of the better panels that I've been a part of in my professional career. But when I listen to answers from candidates on these jobs, I'm listening for a depth and breadth of knowledge, and also when you're asking people to step up in these managerial type of positions, I'm looking for a level of maturity that and really someone who's able to grasp the diversification of the issues that they're having to deal with. And I felt when Stephen Benson answered those questions, he approached every one of those with a level of broad knowledge and expertise and maturity in decision making, and came across as much more qualified in a managerial aspect. And one of the most important roles in this executive director position is being able to approach the community in that professional manner and be able to balance those needs and be able to demonstrate that level of maturity. So again, I find it's funny when people listen into answers, they come up with those different conclusions. Mr. Wong, I think, is very good, and I actually believe he's clearly the second most qualified candidate. But if I had to tip the scales, I believe that Mr. Benson probably he's the most qualified candidate based on the diversity of experience. He is probably the more, and I think physically he doesn't look as mature, and as his answers would have demonstrated, because of the experience he's had, his life experience, I think he comes to it with the ability to manage all the competing priorities that the diversity of our county has. And so I would support Mr. Benson as number one and Mr. Wong as number two.
Councilwoman Hurtak, thank you.
Thank you so much. And the candidates were excellent. I really enjoyed listening to everyone. But I 100% agree with Council Member Clendenin. I feel like if you have someone who's only done one thing, you're really limiting yourself to what we can do going forward. I'm frankly a little shocked by this because the other two candidates had such a larger breadth of knowledge, and I'm afraid that's going to put us quite far behind moving forward. So I would not support Dr. Wong as my number one. He was actually my third. So I can't support that motion.
Commissioner Owen?
Yes, and I disagree with my two colleagues respectfully and agree with the original motion that I'll be supporting. I kind of thought the opposite. I thought that Dr. Wong clearly stood out. Not that the other two candidates aren't great, but I think that Dr. Wong is positioned right now to really be plugged in and hit the ground running. So I will be supporting the motion.
Any other comments? Commissioner Watson?
As well, you never hire someone that's fully qualified. You want to hire someone that can grow into it, and I think that Mr. Wong has fully earned my confidence today despite my issues that I've voiced throughout this process. So thank you.
Commissioner Kemp?
I just want to say I was impressed with all three candidates. I mean, I think it was stellar, and they had a hard job to do, and I appreciate the process. I think was managed well and gave people perspective. You know, I know both the local candidates over years, and so I have experienced with both of them. But I think the other people had obviously different opinions and how they rated it, or else that couldn't have happened. But I don't want. I think we had three really incredible choices. I truly believe that. And, you know, I'm very comfortable with supporting wherever the point system went as a first and second. And I think it's good to have a first and a second for the reasons outlined. Even a third, could be comfortable with. But I got a lot of information today and think I think we had a really robust process that was good. So I'm supporting the motion that was made.
Commissioner Coyne?
Yeah, I just want to say that while the motion from Councilman Maniscalco differs slightly from my own rankings, I very much want to defer to the consensus view of the board. And I think that the reason I asked for the point numbers was because it seems to me that there is clarity in terms of how the board ranked 1, 2, and 3. And I personally, my vote for the motion is going to reflect that. So I'll be supporting the motion.
School Board Member Bond?
Thank you. I agree. This is probably this is an incredibly hard decision. I think all of the candidates showed strengths in so many different areas. My own ranking barely had Mr. Benson a little bit higher by 1 point, but I do appreciate ranked choice voting, and I do think it's important to lean into all of my colleagues, and I will support the highest ranking one and support the motion as well. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Yes, go ahead.
Just wanted to add one comment, because if somebody didn't like one candidate, they might have voted them very low, and that might have reduced their overall weightage. So in this situation, do we vote like each member votes for number one individually, or do we take two members, two interviewees together and then vote on the motion as one?
No, well, we have one motion right now on the floor. Only one motion, and that is to accept the highest rated by points.
Okay.
Okay? Yes. Mayor Ross?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is good discussion. Thank you. And I have a very high level of respect for my colleagues here, and I get what you're saying. I do. These are three really good candidates, in my opinion. Any one of these people could successfully lead the TPO. I just want to, I saw all the same stuff. There's nothing you said about Mr. Benson that I can disagree with. I think he would do a tremendous job also. The one thing, and I spent a lot of time with the candidates. This is the third interview I've done with these folks. One thing that Dr. Wong talked about extensively in all three interviews that I didn't pick up on from the others as strongly was the leadership and development and recruitment of the staff, of the employees. And I didn't hear, and for me, and I know this is subjective, and if we ask different questions, we'd probably elicit different answers, but that was a consistent theme in almost all of the answers in all of the interviews. There was a lot of emphasis on development of the staff, skill enhancement. We talked about ways that he envisioned providing opportunities with a limited amount of money, because you can't just pay more, it's a government thing. The kinds of things he would do to recruit and retain the top-notch people, and he harped on that a lot. And so for me, that was, either one of these could have been great, any of them could have been, but for me, that was the kind of the thing that drove my scoring. Just food for thought.
Councilman Clinton.
A follow-up, because I want to echo what was brought up, and I want to, and maybe there's some way for us to be able to share those numbers, because it is possible in the way we've done this that one or two people that maybe have come to the table with other agendas could have significantly skewed those numbers. Again, if somebody had gone in and rated somebody extremely low, and maybe that didn't happen, but with not knowing how, I think in a statistical analysis, you would throw out anomalies when you tabulate this. So we may be using figures, especially with the number 1 and 2 coming in relatively close, you could definitely see that there might be a problem. At least I'm not comfortable right now accepting the numbers as is without understanding how those numbers broke down, and do we have a significant spread from the top and the bottom, or are there any anomalies in those votes based on how somebody approached this?
Megan?
Sure. So yes, you are correct. We would typically, so you're correct that when you look at a spread, we want to see some kind of standard deviation, those types of things. You take a median, maybe we just did straight adding and total on it. So yes, I mean, the numbers are public record. Every individual numbers are public record if anyone does want to take a look at them. And truthfully, you're right. So at the end of the day, the numbers helped us as a starting point for the discussion and to see where everyone is at. But it's never a fully objective process, and I think it's just never going to be that way. That's just not how interviewing and selection is never going to be 100% objective. So you're correct. If someone did like Dr. Wong better, yes, they're going to score him better. And then, yes, they're going to try to lower out a little bit, potentially, the other candidates so that their candidate can get higher. That is sometimes that can happen, if you want more analysis done on the scores, but we did just the straight add and total.
Yeah, and I wanted to bring it up because if someone is making their decision today just based on the numerical value, I think they're making their decision on an inaccurate assessment of it. There really has to be better discussion and really understanding of the answers of each one of these questions. That if we're weighting it just to this numerical value, we're really honestly being dishonest in a hiring process and not giving it the gravitas that it needs. Thank you.
Commissioner
The only thing I'll say to that is if you feel that way, you can vote no on the motion. If you don't feel comfortable with colleagues' voting methods or priorities on how to do this, then you can simply vote no on the motion. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Wanso?
Yeah, the same thing could have been done if someone weighted low. They would have weighted their own all fives. I mean, this sounds like a extremely fruitless endeavor. It was a baseline. We've all voiced our opinions. We have a proper main motion on the floor with the second, so it sounds like we're talking in circles.
Okay. I want to make sure I recognize everyone.
Yeah, just as far as weighing in, I think alternative approach could be just you rank them 1, 2, and 3 instead of having the scores, like 27 or 23 or whatever. And so you just have them 1, 2, 3. It takes away that in case you rate one person 5 and someone else 30, takes out that huge discrepancy there. But I think it probably could come out the same. Looking at 477 versus 432, more likely they'd probably finish 1, 2, and 3 in that order as well. If you just ranked them 1, 2, and 3 versus giving them a total score and adding up all those total scores. So I imagine it's probably the same type of outcome. I'm not sure if you have those stats over there as far as each party, we all ranked 3 of them. Was it 1, 2, and 3? Did it come out that way too versus the total numeric score?
Yeah, I mean, we do have the spreadsheet. We could take a look at that, but.
I'd like a substitute amendment to include that as an assessment of the candidates, so we can do, if in the ranked choice voting, as my fellow board member discussed, if we could look at 1, 2, 3 versus the numerical score, so we don't have anybody that's potentially being sandbagged.
You need to say some, Camden.
Well, you have a motion, I mean, that's a substitute motion because it's not dispositive of the original motion. So you would just need to see if there was a second for a motion like that or if it required additional clarity.
I think that's a substitute motion, yes.
You want to state your substitute motion to make sure?
Substitute motion that we include for ranked choice voting the 1, 2, and 3 and look at that figure outside of the actual tabulation of numbers. So we look at precincts 1, 2, 3 and come up with what the figure would look like for ranked choice voting. Thank you.
Can we have a motion by Councilman Clendon, second.
Just a moment of clarification here. Are you suggesting that they retabulate based on that and that we withhold vote, that we refrain from voting until we have that information? Is that what
Yes,
your
that we do a
suggestion is?
true ranked choice voting of 1, 2, 3, and have that data so that it avoids the pitfalls of not having the statistical analysis that we would have to see it evaluate in any other way.
I know the conversation is getting very lengthy, and we're kind of repeating the same thing. Do we want to do a roll call vote of the candidate that you prefer? And I'm just trying to bring some clarity because to come to a consensus.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
If I may. So I think the point for me is well taken from Megan, that this whole process was to be a starting point of the discussion around this, right? So I'm not going to change my position that Johnny's number one for me, Stephen's number two. I don't care if we go back and look at the numbers. That's where I'm at subjectively, and that's how I'm going to vote.
Okay. Mayor Ross.
And I echo that too. That's why I didn't read the numbers the first time, but they are public records. Somebody wants to know the numbers, I read them, but that's why I didn't read them the first time. It's meant as a starting point for the conversation. We're not bound by these numbers, folks. We are free to hire the candidate that we think is the best qualified candidate. It could be the lowest point getter. But what I'm hearing from this group is that everybody's on board with the motion of the ones we've heard of, except 2 people, and now we're resorting to going back to these numbers to try to bring some question to the judgment of the majority of this group. And I mean, I want to do things fairly and transparently, but I think we're putting a false emphasis on these numbers. The emphasis is on the judgment of the board members.
Thank you so much. Gail, we're ready for a roll call.
Point of order, we're voting on the.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
that's right.
On the
Who
substitute.
was on the substitute motion? All in favor, we have a motion by Councilman Clendon and second by School Board Member Vaughn. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Well, show your hands.
Well,
so we
point of
can-
order, you may want to do a roll call.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's roll call.
Okay, a roll call, Gail, on the substitute motion.
Commissioner Myers?
No.
Mayor Ross?
No.
Commissioner Owen?
No.
Commissioner Wastel?
No.
Commissioner Cohen?
No.
Commissioner Kemp?
No.
Councilmember Clendenin?
Yes.
Councilmember Hurtak?
Yes.
Councilmember Maniscalco?
No.
Mayor Kilton?
No.
Board Member Vaughn?
Yes.
Charles Klug? Gina Dew?
No.
Greg Slater?
No.
Scott Drainville?
No.
Planning Commissioner Soraya?
Yes.
The motion fails 12-4.
Okay, so we're at the original motion now. Roll call vote, Gail,
Commissioner
for the
Myers?
ranking. That's what we're voting.
Right.
Which is to go with
Wong.
Dr. Wong, and then if that doesn't work out, go with Benson, a second choice.
Yes.
Commissioner Myers?
Yes.
Mayor Ross?
Yes.
Commissioner Owen?
Yes.
Commissioner Wastel?
Yes.
Commissioner Cohen?
Yes.
Commissioner Kemp?
Yes.
Councilmember Clendenin?
No.
Councilmember Hurtak?
No.
Councilmember Maniscalco?
Yes.
Mayor Kilton?
Yes.
Board Member Vaughn?
Yes.
Charles Klug?
Yes.
Gina Dew?
Yes.
Greg Slater?
Yes.
Scott Drainville?
Yes.
Planning Commissioner Soraya?
Yes.
The motion passes 14-2.
Okay, thank you. So at this time, we're going to direct staff to begin negotiation with Dr. Warren. And if it doesn't pan out, we'll go to the second candidate. Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank